astral travel, astral projection, all that stuff. It is demonic simulation. They can and will create elaborate simulations that are realer than reality. They want you to believe they have time travel abilities, just like some of the aliens that are going to be showing themselves. You can jump into a painting and you will end up creating, your subconscious mind tricks you into creating a 3D world around you that is a virtual reality realm.
Bro, what? They can travel to other planets and I'm here paying taxes and working my ass off? Maybe I should travel to Mars.
Now you might
Is that
say,
a tax-free zone?
if you cut out pictures of people, put them on the painting, dead people, living, doesn't matter, you will go there and you'll find them there. It'll create a thought-formed shell, a subconscious manifestation of them, and if they're a dead person, you might be able to summon your actual dead relative or loved one this way, and meets up with BB from the future. They're friends again in the future.
It's alive?
The same guy, the same guy.
Bro, in year 3000?
Dude, he's not going away. I'm sorry, guys. At least talk about depopulating us 90%.
For those of you watching, I'm not subscribing to that shit. Kill. Mr. Seth Kicklighter. I still can't believe this is your real last name.
God gave it to me.
Okay, please preach. I'm here to listen, to enjoy the show, and I'm gonna shut up.
You're gonna have to a lot for me to get through
So
this.
please, preach, preach, brother, preach.
Yeah. Let's see. Are we rolling right now?
Yes.
All right, I'm locked in. So yeah, my name is Seth Kicklighter, by the way. I wrote Spirit Realm Shenanigans, an unhinged rant exposing the psychic fabrications of discarnate dweebs and Nephilim nitwits. It's a goofy...
What did you just say?
An unhinged rant exposing the psychic fabrications of discarnate dweebs and Nephilim nitwits. It's like an overly long, pretentious title, but it's silly, so...
0.5 speed.
No, that was like a joke, to be fair.
Okay.
I wasn't actually...
Okay.
I'm not going to do... I will
Because
talk
Brian
very
told me
fast.
that this is the way you preach.
I
so
do
please
move
don't.
fast. That was more of a silly thing I was doing because my title is ridiculous, but you know, it's a selling point, I'd say. And it's mixed with goofy, dumb guy comedy just for the entertainment value that might be necessary for some of the people I'm trying to convert, which is a lot of New Agers and Gnostics. I'm an ex-New Ager, ex-Astral Traveler, ex-drug user, ex-possessed by demons, all the bad stuff, man. I was into all that, and now I'm covered in the blood of Christ. It's a very good turnaround for me.
And you're only how old?
I'm just turned 27. I'm an old freaking man. I'm dying right now.
You've done it all, right?
Yeah.
You've got all the stones.
I'm at the end of the line
infinity.
already, you know? Yeah, man. And I've made a lot of crazy, I'm making a lot of crazy claims today that I have not been hearing from other people, except in maybe, you know, occasional assumptions people make. But essentially my core theory of my book is, which delves into many other things I'll get into, is that the Astro Realm, specifically astral travel, astral projection, all that stuff, it is demonic simulation. People meet these self-declared guides, ascended masters, higher selves of themselves from the future outside time, all these characters which guide you to these destinations in the astral, and they are, in my opinion, just totally put yourself in a video game, and they have every detailed control of everything around you. And when I say just not just everything around you on every detail of it, but also they'll implant thoughts along the way. They will guide your intuition. They will control your lucidity. So they can make you more or less lucid and will strategically change it at certain times to create certain messaging and get certain points across.
You say they, who they?
I call them demons. If you are an astral traveler and you do it and you think it's a positive thing, you'll call them guides, higher selves, ascended masters, etc. And there's other entities out there, but those are the ones that you're constantly interacting with for decades, these people. And I'm going to be breaking down today evidence where this simulation capability is flatly admitted by these quote-unquote guides, flatly admitted that they can do this. They say that they only do it on occasion and will tell you when it's a simulation, but that if they're liars and they tell each other lies and you can catch them in lies, which I have plenty of examples of, then they're not to be trusted. And if they're not to be trusted and they're lying to you, and they can create massive simulations with full control of everything about it, then how do we know the rest of the astral realms that you visit that are the real places, how do we know those aren't fake too, which is my theory that they're all fake. And there's a lot of reasons I believe this. And, you know, one core example is if you're a Christian mystic and you're not supposed to be doing out-of-body travel as a Christian, but you're doing it like Emanuel Swedenborg in the late 1700s, they will give them different lore and different characters that's somewhat aligned, but overall there's too much discrepancies to where it shows they're not giving people the same information, and they're coming from guides and also what they're visualizing and experiencing in these realms. And then a New Ager will get a different story, and they push a lot of Gnostic lore and the Reincarnation prison planet, but they'll push slightly different things for different people. As long as they can get them in the astral or entity contacting, as long as they can do that, they don't care what you believe as long as it's not fully the Bible. You know what I'm saying? That's the ultimate inversion. And the takeaway, if this is true, if this is a simulation psyop from demonic entities, they are constantly, ultimately guiding you towards expanding your cosmology to a non-biblical one, and specifically a Gnostic prison planet one, where people go to the Astral and have these revelations, and it can come in the form of direct downloads from these entities, just giving you the information, or it can come from you see it for yourself, where you see these realms and you see these lower astral entities that replace demons' roles, but they're not biblical demons, you know? And they will see them doing these evil things and be like, oh, I see the evil, it's exposed, but really it's a false flag. They're giving you this limited hangout alternate view that's like partially true with like the whole energy harvesting and loosh thing that they talk about as being the main core reason for demonic activity. But they're saying it's about energy harvesting as opposed to, no, they're trying to turn you away from Christ and turn you away from a biblical understanding. It's to convince you of a cosmology that's not real. And there's a lot of evidence for that. And this whole thing is important because if they can do this in a semi-autonomous state where it's generating as you go about it, like a video game, then they can easily do downloaded memories, which there's so much evidence of false implanted memories throughout this lore, throughout my part 1, 2, 3 material, which is more later material, but this coincides with reincarnation, and this is a way to disprove reincarnation memories, even explaining the birthmark situation away, which people would always like bring that up, but that's for another time. And this also explains a lot of NDEs that come back with the fruits of very new age lore. This also covers remote viewing. If they can do these deep astral realm experiences, remote viewing is just the less sexy cousin of astral travel. It's the same thing. It's the same type of data, same type of entity facilitation, but it's requiring way less CPU, I like to say, of the demonic like abilities. Like it's way less of a detailed simulation, obviously. It's less immersive, so it's easier. So remote viewing, if this is controlled in astral travel this much, as I'm going to prove to you very quickly, that means remote viewing is like nothing. So I don't know if you have anything for me. So
I'm going to stop you right there.
Go for it.
So 2 quick questions. First of all, Mandela effect is one of those false bad memories?
You know, there might be a layer of that for sure, where because people go, I just know that this used to be like this, and I just know, so that must mean we're in an alternate timeline. I have 2 theories on Mandela effect. One, it's your stubbornness and pride is making you think, yeah, I
But
know.
not only mine. Let's say hundreds or millions of people remember this thing or this movie that never came out.
Yeah. Here's the other explanation, which I think applies to more situations. I think that's a psyop done by, like, for example, the Fruit of the Loom thing, the cornucopia thing. That I think is just could easily be explained by the brand is owned by whoever, elites. Ultimately, a lot of large companies are. They can just change the emblem one day and then go into create a whole system of, I don't know if they're signing contracts with people to be like, don't talk about this or what, but I feel like they can just change the emblem one day and just act like nothing happened, and then people won't notice it for years, maybe. They won't notice it, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, yeah, we never did that, and as a company, that might be their policy or something, because people have found products where it does have it and from the past, and unless it's like AI videos. But I'm saying, like, I think it's more likely to just drive people crazy with a psyop than actually we're at a different timeline.
Yeah, but there are different examples. So, for example, since my native language is Russian, I know the slightly Russian culture. So there are even multiple examples of this Mandela effect in Russian culture. Animated movies with this character having this thing.
Yeah.
And
they update movies over time, and they can just switch it and just be like driving people crazy intentionally. From these big companies, big movies owned with a lot of money, like I don't see why they couldn't do that. They've done the elites have done crazier things.
To make you go nuts?
Well, it's one, because it acts as a way to go, because whenever you think of a conspiracy theorist, maybe now it's different, but years ago, if you say conspiracy theorist, you think flat earth and you think Mandela effect. Those are the top, like that's like the Starbucks of conspiracies that people would be attributed towards really quickly. Whenever you bring those conspiracy theories up, that's what they go to in their mind, like the normie, right? And Mandela effect, I think, is one of the sillier ones that has less backing, and I think it's more of a psyop. I think, almost everything is. But I just think that is like a way to paint conspiracy theorists in general as crazy, retarded people. And that's one of the more silly ones that is more algorithmically promoted, or at least was years ago. Now it's like quite a few other topics that they're promoting in their faces because they're controlling this mass awakening, in my opinion. But the Mandela effect, that's not my forte or expertise at all, but that's the opinion that I've had for quite a while. And I'm not explaining it probably the best, but it's...
You've mentioned birthmarks. I got 2.
Yeah, well, you might have...
What does it mean?
Well, in reincarnation lore... Possibly, but no, not in this case. Reincarnation lore pushes that, like, if you had... like a slice across your neck of a birthmark and it looked like a line, then if you got a past life memory, chances are it's going to be a decapitation memory, and that's like the remnant of your death. wound. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what they say. But there's an explanation for how this is happening that I don't think I can really delve into right now accurately, but it has to do with downloaded memories, which in part 2 and 3 material I cover is there's so much evidence that practitioners who do past life regression admit constantly that memories are not coming from you always. They're coming from attached entities. And they say it's like ghosts and it's their real memories, but if they're not ghosts, which we can prove pretty easily that they're lying about their identity, then that just only leaves demonic entities as the identity of these beings. And if they're not real memories from a ghost are attached to you, then that means they must be demonic simulations, which is something I can prove pretty easily they're capable of.
Okay, yeah. So if Mandela effect is not real up to you, what's the deja vu then?
I think our minds are just kind of dumb, and it could be demonic influence to make you think something, and then it's kind of a short circuit of your brain. Like people say, it's when you fail to associate a memory with a past event, like a current thing happening with a past event. So it's like a failed memory association. So it's kind of like a brain fart. I don't think it's any evidence of anything.
Brain fart?
I call it brain fart, yeah. But I just think it's not.
Guys, he's from northern Florida, so keep in mind. He's saying that Florida has almost the same weather as California.
I clearly have brain damage. Yeah, I clearly have something wrong with me, and this is one of the most controversial things I say, probably actually. But yeah, man, it's not my forte for sure, but it's something that I have strong opinions on, which is, I guess, too many things. But yeah, man, I think it accounts for all these past life things. Secret space program memories, which is very controversial and not well known about. Future life memories, which people don't want to talk about. There's, it's evidence of a lot of trickery going on here. But I cover that in later material. Today is going to be like astral lore focused. Like I'm covering, in my book, I have like 80 pages dedicated to astral lore, doing a usually 20-page breakdown in 4 books total. And that's Robert Monroe, the most influential astral traveler of all time. He created the Monroe Institute, the wizard school for all the Harry Potter nerds and psychics who want to go and learn remote viewing and astral travel and channeling and all that stuff. So I'm breaking down, I spent like 60 pages on his 3 books, and we're covering like a portion of that today. And then I am going back and forth between his lore and Kurt Leland's book, Otherwhere, which is another astral traveler book just like his, except it's way less well known and he's less popular and influential, but he's a Monroe Institute contributor and he's like real deal and has a bunch of experiences and decades of this. And so he's less well known, but he has more insights in his book about clearly simulation related material. Because I'll give you the first examples. I'm going to be reading excerpts today because I'm making really huge claims and I look like this, so I gotta like bring.
You gotta back it up.
I gotta back it up a little bit.
Come on.
And I'm totally going to do that, but just bear with me, guys. So I'm going to start with like the flat admissions of simulation control, just so people know I'm not making this up. And these are source material that I compiled in my book, and then we'll get into more examples. And I have tons of examples in the book that we're not covering today, and we'll see how much we get through. But I'm going to end it off with biblical lore and show how the Bible literally basically tells us exactly what I'm saying, just not as much detail. Like I'm just reading between the lines of the lore from the people who are doing this. So for anybody listening who's a New Age or agnostic or just thinks astral travel is okay, or even that this astral realm is real, because people push that the astral realm is real that we go to. I'm not saying there's no spirit realm, but whatever we're going to is not that. We're not able to access that, in my opinion. And the Lord tells us not to do this stuff for a reason. And there's some Christians who believe God's pulling them out of their body to do astral intercession for others. And I've heard people talk about this on podcasts. They're like, no, I know it's bad, but I was chosen by God, so we got to fight black magic with white magic. And if anybody knows, that's Hegelian dialectic and a total scam. But I think they're just deceived. And they give you a Christianized version of the astral to make you think you're helping people. But it's really just to pull you in and get you pulled into demonic activity. And then they can merge with you further, and it's a whole consent thing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start off with some crazy lore and just read out of here if you're ready. Do you got any questions real quick?
So guys, like, comment, subscribe to the channel.
Please.
Seth's channel.
Yeah. Sethlehem on X, which is where I get crazy. Sethlehem _ on my YouTube. Follow my YouTube. I'm posting interviews I do with other people. I'll be hosting some and getting real controversial. And Sethlehem _ on Instagram. Just follow me wherever. But on my X is where I get crazy. My link tree is in my bio of those accounts, and that has my book, my free audiobook. The whole book is free on YouTube and Spotify, and I used funny voices for all the characters. It's really silly. And all my podcast appearances are compiled there, and you can reach me by email if you need. So we're good.
Whew, let's go. Speed
right,
0.5.
That's what, all right. I'll try to be chill. Okay, so in this part, this is one of the most clear examples of what I'm talking about here. This flatly admits this is Robert Monroe's second book, Far Journeys, the most influential astral traveler that people look up to and use as inspiration. He only says one paragraph on this entire subject in 3 books. He never talks about it again. He doesn't describe his stories. He just tells you about the situation. Kurt Leland, I'm going to read his excerpt next. That's going to be the longest one, but I got it. It's important. And his excerpt's going to talk about his astral simulation, but we'll get there in just a second. So this is
What
from
page is this?
127.
I'm gonna follow.
It's going to be at the bottom in italics, 127. So if you want to read through. So he's talking about he calls him his inspecs, which is an anagram, which is intelligent species, but really he finds out later this is his guide, or this is his higher self, but he doesn't know that yet. So it's a higher self, for anybody who doesn't know, is a culmination of all your incarnations from the past and the future outside of time, and they're combined into a hive mind. Admitted hive mind, a theme that will pop up often, and I'll talk about the hive mind later. But so it's his higher self, which is all of hymns from the past and future, past and future lives. Except him, which is interesting. But they're here to help you and guide you, and they're a hive mind, admittedly. So just keep that in mind. That's a theme that'll come
And
up.
he himself created the universe, right?
Well,
Is he himself the creator?
is that what they're telling him?
Yeah.
No, it's more like you can be your own god and you can evolve, but really their ultimate goal is to join with Source or to move to another dimension and create a new life there, which is what they tell Bob to do later, but we'll get to that. They're not saying you're the god of the universe, like, there's still a demiurge in their lore.
Oh, right.
They push the whole Yahweh's the demiurge thing.
That's Gnosticism.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems there. But he's talking about his inspecs, his guides, his higher self, and he says that they're trying to teach him lessons. So this is one of the way they teach him how to behavioral modification is what they're doing, and philosophy teaching and all these things. He just says, this is his quote, "A favorite and quick learn forever method of theirs was simulation. It was based on their ability to create and place into a human consciousness, mine or an earth-type situation so real and so overwhelming that I could not tell reality from illusion. I do not know the limits of such simulation talent or technology, nor do I know the extent to which they employ the technique. It may only be in my particular case, but I doubt it. The potentials of its application in other ways begs for broad speculation. In my own pattern, it was usually applied as an instant cleanup of minor emotional patterns that blocked or distorted my clarity of perception or my stability. Usually, I was unaware of such dysfunction. They would note it and offer to take care of the problem. I would be informed that the lesson was about to take place with my consent, yet once in the simulation, it became absolutely and totally real. And I lived it. If I did not break through the reality of the simulation, or I couldn't break through the reality of the simulation, yet once the training sequence was completed, I then knew what it was for. To pose questions about motives seemed irrelevant, or perhaps I didn't want to endanger the good thing I had going for me." So, within one paragraph, you have the top astral traveler of all time influence-wise saying they can and will create elaborate simulations that are realer than reality. You will constantly hear this. It's realer than the real world in the way they feel it and the emotions they experience and how sensory all-encompassing it is. And he says that it's repeated until he does the right thing. So they're just making him go through this kind of almost traumatic thing sometimes without, and his lucidity goes down. He forgets it's fake. He thinks it's a reality while he's there. And then what they're doing is they're strategically dimming his lucidity. And they're not doing that in the regular astral for reasons we'll get into in a few minutes. But they're able to control this entire, like your brain, basically, while you're in the astral.
But why do you believe the guy? Maybe he was just nuts and crazy and wrote this book. Why do you believe
his whole life wouldn't go the way it did if this was all made up? Because one, he started Monroe Institute and he's training hundreds and now thousands and tens of thousands in the last few decades people to do this work.
But
and
do we have tangible result of his work?
Well, I mean, astral lore is all like metaphysical and, in your mind, and you come back and you're like, oh, why isn't he not making it up? You got to keep in mind, he's trained tons of people. They're all coming back with the same experiences for the most part that are matching up. They would all have to be making up like if it's our subconscious tricking us or we're making it up, that means thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who are involved in this work would have to be saying the same things, making it all up. No, I've done it. It's real. I haven't done all the crazy things he's going to go through, but I've absolutely done it myself, so I can attest that it's...
What's the craziest thing that you did with astro travel?
I don't have like deep realms stories like we're going to get into today, so I don't have the like really, really exciting stuff. I mostly traveled around the, quote, real-time zone, which is what they call, Robert Bruce would call the floating around like a ghost in the real world, okay? So I would float around to other houses and other buildings and check on friends and, just mess around.
How did it look like? You were sitting at your place?
This is the thing. I'll quickly tell you one story that got me into this whole simulation concept, because what happens is when you're nearby, like if you're in your house, floating around the house, things will look pretty much the same. There might be things out of place, but I don't really pay attention that well because I'm just trying to focus on moving, because I'm not moving myself. They're reading my mind and moving me for me. But sometimes they want to mess with you and scare you, so they'll make you fall underground a couple hundred or 1,000 feet, and then you'll be thinking you're going to get buried underground and get stuck because you can't control your movement. Sometimes, this has happened to me a bunch of times, and then I'll be falling and I'll be seeing my house see-through from above, which doesn't even make sense because it's nothing else. I can't see other houses. I just see my house, and it looks like it's dreamlike.
And at that time, your bodies were sitting on the couch?
Yeah, and if I go up back to my room, I can see myself sitting there, and I can jump in, and boom, I wake up. Now,
Well, how do you get into this state?
meditation, or you can do DMT or drugs, and we have a whole section on that. But it's a theta brainwave state thing, and it's a consent thing. It's consenting to do it, and it's a mixture of that with theta brainwave state, which is a meditative. That's how you do channeling, astral travel, remote viewing, all the psychic stuff. All of that requires a theta brainwave state, which is a meditative state where you're also doing a consenting magic ritual. Essentially, it's divination. So it's the most immersive form. So one time I went out of my body and I have a roommate, and he's been kind of making fun of me for doing the out of body stuff because he didn't believe in it. And I keep saying, nah, man, I'm going to haunt you one day and you're going to feel me poking at you in the astral form. And I kept messing around with him and he just thought I was crazy. So I was trying to prove it, just to see if I could affect the physical realm, which is, I don't think it's possible necessarily, but there's a whole stipulation on that we might talk about later. But one day I go downstairs out of body and I try to go to his room where he's playing video games, and I see him playing video games, and I'm trying to kind of just mess with him. So, and see if he'll sense me, which he probably wouldn't, but I was going to try. So I'm doing that, and I end up just he's sitting in a chair playing video games. I see the screen. The screen looks he's just playing some game, clicking things. It looks nothing out of place, totally normal. And I'm going in and out of his body, no homo, it wasn't weird. And then I'm just giggling and trying to see if he can hear anything or sense me. And I'm just going through his body like it's a wall, and I'm a ghost. And then he doesn't really move or react. And I'm like, whatever, this is lame. So I go back up to my body and see if I can come down and see if and be like, hey, did you notice anything weird just now going in and out of your body or something like that? And I go downstairs and I open the door and that dude ain't even there. He's not even home. I thought he was home and he's at work. And I was blown away because I was I saw that clear as day.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else was the house, right? So I do research on it because I'm kind of freaking out, what's going on. And what they say is astral travelers about this stuff. They say, oh, it's a thought form. And their word for thought form just means a subconscious manifestation of something you manifested in the astral because you desired to see him or you expected to see him and you desired to see him. That created this, right? And they'll say that about demonic type characters. They'll say, oh, you just manifested them because you were scared. So because you were scared, a demonic entity comes and attack you in the astral, but it's not real. Now, they'll do attacks with these entities and then tell you that. Their guides will show up and save you. They'll do a false flag. They'll give you an enemy, and then the Hegelian dialectic, and they'll give you a hero, and they'll save you. And then later you'll find out that hero was me from the future, my higher self, and it's so narcissistic. It's all me. And so it's, where was I? So that's what happened to me one time, and I had a few other situations like that where I was like, this is simulation, because there's no other way to explain that. If you go around your house, things are pretty normal. For the most part, there might be things out of place, but you're not really paying that close attention. But when you go far, or you go really fast and you land in some house that you've never been in, you'll see stuff generate in front of your eyes that wasn't there. If it's the real world, it should just be there, right? But no, you'll see a couch pop up, generate all at once. You'll see floors move around, but only when you're farther from your body. And I thought, is this just my brain kind of sensing without a physical sense? But why is it still incorrect to the real world, which I would later validate by going to these places and see this is not at all what I saw. So I'm like, that sounds like real-time generation of a simulation, does it not? If it's not matching the world. So there was many examples of that I have, but that was just a sillier one. And that's what led me to this whole concept. And then I did research by reading these books again, and I was like, wait, this is constantly admitted, constantly, and they're liars. So for anybody who wants to know, I don't really get into it in this episode, but in my book in chapter 2, I lay the groundwork for why we shouldn't trust these entities because these entities are the same ones saying the same stuff we hear in channeled lore. This is channeled via astral, but you can channel just by possession, taking over the body and talking to people. There are hundreds of channeled books out there, old and new. I read 25 or 30 of them, and I cross-examined what they say about Jesus, demons' existence, origins and creation, Atlantis, and I also said what they don't tell us. What do they not talk about? One is MK Ultra. Not one has mentioned that, but they tell you all the secrets of the universe, but no one's mentioned programming with any satanic type material. Very weird how they all ignore that. But for every single topic, the top most popular channel sources, I'm talking raw material, I'm talking Seth material, no relation. I'm talking Cassiopeian transcripts, that's more underground, I guess. Edgar Casey readings, Rudolf Steiner Akashic Records readings, who else? Dolores Cannon regression work. This is all information coming from the Akashic Records, which is the record of everything that's ever happened to everybody, every memory. And it's supposed to be real and authentic. And they're all claiming to get from the Akashic Records, but they diverge on details so dramatically, thematically align against Christianity constantly. They disagree on details so rapidly, they have to all be lying. And I break that down in the second chapter, and then I go, okay, now we're going into the astral lore and the spirit releasement therapy lore, where they're doing these fake healings, which is another topic. But my point is, we can't trust them, and they're the same ones taking us around the cosmos into these realms. So,
but they're attacking Jesus by saying what?
So I do a whole section on Jesus where we talk about, I just want to make sure I cover it right. The crucifixion, they'll have a different story about the crucifixion. Was it symbolic? Was it literal? Who was Jesus? They'll cover his identity. They'll say he killed someone as a kid, and that's why he became good, because he wanted to use his powers for good. But other people say, no, that's not what happened.
But they can't source their source?
No, they're just telling you. They say it's from the Akashic Records, but they're all doing this from the Akashic Records.
What is that? It's not even a book. It's like the library somewhere in that realm, right?
You can experience it. So if you go into the Astral and you want to go to the Akashic Records and find out what did Hitler do in his spare time, you can go to the Akashic Records, just think of it, or it's a demon reading your mind and crafting a simulation around it, and you can go to this, it'll be like a hall or a library, and you can go to anything and just think of something you want to see, anything in the universe ever, and they'll show you a simulation of it, and you can even live as that person and feel those memories and download them into you, or you can just watch it like a movie. Anything you want, but really, they're reading your mind, taking whatever you want to see, and then building something around it, but they don't align with other people's stories.
Right, that's what would be my next question. So, okay.
It's a little complicated, but yeah, for Jesus, they say all sorts of different things that don't align with each other, but they're always taking down his status. They'll be nice about Jesus and say nice things, but it has to be a Gnostic Jesus who's like not actually God incarnate. It'll be ascended master, and they'll say, you can do the same thing as Jesus. You can be like him. He actually taught reincarnation, all this stuff that's not biblical. And they'll say, yeah, Christians just got it wrong, but in a coordinated way, and they don't coordinatively attack Muhammad or Buddha or... Yeah, they won't attack anybody except Jesus and Christianity, which is a little weird and seems like something a bunch of demons would do. I don't know.
That's one of the, let's say, 10 main reasons why I became a Christian. Because
really?
Because they always attack Jesus.
That's right.
If he was a fictional character, why don't you attack, let's say, Harry Potter? He's a fictional character too, just like Jesus.
Well, that gets people
attack him.
magic.
No. They only attack Jesus only. Okay.
So that seems a little weird. Most people don't see that pattern, but it's kind of obvious by now if you haven't been paying attention. I don't know. But yeah, man, that's a big one for me too, because I was like, why are they always attacking him in all these different psychically derived information sources? And if there's a spirit involved, they don't like Jesus, or they're going to change his biblical, the biblical account of what happened. But I'll continue going on about so the simulation stuff, Monroe already admitted it's a thing. He also said, I didn't want to question their motives because I didn't want to endanger the good thing I had going for me. He's saying I didn't want to endanger my occult access to this knowledge and to this experiences. He loves it. So he didn't want to mess it up, so he's not going to ask them why are they doing this, even though he said it's kind of weird. He basically said that, my words. But then Kurt Leland in Otherwhere on page 164, if you want to get into it, on the middle upper part.
Okay.
So his guides are telling him they're going to put him in a simulation, right? And they're saying it's an escape room, an astral escape room. And whatever that means, we'll find out. But so they take him to what he describes as 1600s Italy. He's in like a castle, and there's no door, and we'll get into that. But he says, I looked down at the drawing table where I found a complex perspective study of a cathedral drawn in ink on a piece of parchment. The sketch was in the style of the Renaissance. Could this be a past life, one in which I'd been an artist or architectural draftsman? So for starters, complex perspective study on a piece of parchment in the simulation. That's detailed control we're talking about. That's one example. He also immediately thinks, keep in mind, I said they implant thoughts. I think this is an implanted thought in my opinion. Even though he's told he's going into a simulation, his lucidity is dimmed instantly and he gets dumber. And he's like, is this a past life memory? Which makes no sense because one, they told him he's going into a simulation. He immediately forgets. Two, you don't have autonomy and can move around and think in a memory. This is live action, right? But that's how much they're messing with his brain. And they're doing this intentionally, and we're going to get to why in a minute. But he then says, as instructed, I looked for clues. A quick scan showed me that there was no door. Perhaps it was concealed like a trapdoor. After all, I seem to be a prisoner of sorts. So this isn't a copy and paste of a real location. Otherwise, this castle would have a door in it, right? So it's kind of another example. This is simulation control. which is going to be very obvious now because it's going to get really silly, guys. He then says, I looked down at the drawing table again. The architectural rendering was gone. In its place, I found a piece of typing paper turned sideways. On it was a child's crayon drawing of a landscape, a bright blue sky with a smiling sun and puffy white clouds, green grass, and a poorly drawn cow grazing by the metal gate. Before I had a chance to ask myself what such a drawing was doing in the Renaissance, however, I found myself inside of it, a real-life figure projected into a cartoon. A wind of colors flew by, the sun set, and the crescent moon lying on its side rose up. The moon had a big nose and was wearing a nightcap. Okay. A music box began to play Beautiful Dreamer, and the moon started to sing along in the voice of Frank Sinatra. A chorus line of five-pointed stars whirled and jigged between verses, occasionally chiming in. The brown cow never moved, however. It remained frozen mid-chew, grass dangling from its mouth, faintly pathetic. The sun and the moon seemed to be attached to a revolving wheel that kept spinning faster and faster. Day alternated with night so rapidly that they blurred together, flickering like a strobe light. And then, just as suddenly as I'd been whisked into the child's drawing, I was outside of it again, seated at the drawing table. The architectural rendering had reappeared. So, for anybody wondering, this is the level of simulation we're talking about. This is a straight cartoon world where they can make day alternate with night instantly and do the singing moon and stuff. It's and they're admitting this is their power. They're telling him this, and they're going to come back and remind him what's going on in a minute. So he again, after that experience, he's back in the castle. They transport him back instantly, and then he again forgets where he is, who he is. And they're going up and down, messing with his brain lucidity because they want him to fail so they can come in and tell him the business and what really is he's supposed to do, so they can teach him a lesson. So he then remembers why he's there again, and it's to escape. So he's like, oh, I remember, but really they're messing with him. He then says, the study vanished, and I found myself wandering through a desert. With a clarity of logic that startled me, you don't mind control him here. There's no reason for these thoughts to come up, but they're coming up. I resolved to seek out the witches and warlocks who must have been responsible for this bizarre change of scenery. Even though he knows he's in a simulation and was told, he's like, where are the witches and warlocks doing this? They're making him stupid on purpose, okay? This is implanted thoughts. He says, perhaps they could tell me how to escape this reality in which I've been imprisoned. I walked and I walked. The desert remained featureless as it had been when I first arrived. I was lost, but that didn't stop me. I kept on walking anyway. Suddenly, my perspective shifted. I seemed to be seeing myself from far away, looking down on myself as I walked. The desert planet I was walking on was so small that it spun beneath my feet with every step. I was wholly responsible for its rotation. I panicked. I began to feel that I'd be trapped in this barren reality, wherever and whatever it was, forever. Without transition, I found myself back in the architect's study. I'm almost done with this excerpt, but he again, after all this, forgets why he's there. He was just on a planet where he's bigger than the planet, and he's making it move with his feet. So that's the type of mechanics they're capable of. Again, he forgets who he is, and he gets lost in his character again, and he believes he's the Mount of Monte Cristo from the book, which I think is fiction, but maybe not. Even so, he thinks he's that guy from this book. And then a woman walks in through a trap door, and he looks at her and goes, oh my God, this must be the jailer's daughter coming to save me because she loves me. This is the retarded thoughts they're putting him through. These are not natural thoughts that come up, even if you are dumb. They're implanting this, and he's like going along with it because he doesn't know any better. And then she comes in and says, this is his guide coming in human form into the simulation. And she says to him, let me ask you something, the instructor said. Where on earth are you able to walk through a crayon drawing while the sun smiles at you and the moon and stars are singing? Your study contains bits and pieces from every historic period from the last 500 years. We threw everything in but the kitchen sink to get you to realize this was a dream, and we finally had to put that in too. All you had to do was realize the utter impossibility of everything you were perceiving and tell yourself you must be dreaming. That's how you escape. Now, why this is important is a little layered, because in the book, they tell him multiple times, Leland, they say, we chose you, his guide said, we chose you to do this mission, to write this book. We wanted you to do it so that you could share with the world the information about the Astral Realm. And they say the most important thing you can do, tell everybody, the most important thing you can do is to, when you're alive, is to go out of body and traverse the Astral Realm. Because if you do, you can then know how to maneuver after you die and go around the universe. Because if you don't, and you don't know how to go out of body, you're going to fail and you're going to be stuck in the reincarnation loop. It's not about balancing karma, which they also teach to other people. It's like different. They say, no, you just have to learn how to traverse. It's going to be confusing without it. So practice while you're alive. They don't talk about moral progression, bettering yourself, treating other people good. They never bring it up. They say, go out of body. That is the most important thing to do on earth. They say, we chose you to write this book. You're an asset now. They said, we did the same thing with Robert Monroe. We chose him. They tell him that. It's in the book. And they say, and no one's read this book hardly. It's very underground, but it's like, it's more revealing because they're admitting that they use these people as assets. If they're liars and they're trying to train assets with simulations, that is very indicative of a Christian worldview, in my opinion. But, whatever, I'm biased. So there's quite a bit more here. I don't know if you have any questions so far. You want to hit me?
No questions.
All right, man. So on page 127, I'm not going to be reading an excerpt, but I'll explain it. We have this section about rotes, R-O-T-E. Now, a rote is I call him Bob, it's Robert Monroe's, his word for a download. You know what a download is, straight information hitting your brain and a lot of complex stuff at once. So that's his name for a download, and it can be just it can be any astral entity you meet can just, instead of going telepathically back and forth, because they're not talking with words, they're telepathically with everybody communicating. Instead of just going back and forth on a complex topic, they can just go, here, take this, metaphysically transfer you a download, a rote, and then boom, you understand a complex topic instantly, and all types of spiritual encounters you hear people, and abduction lore, and shadow people, and channeling, anything. You get downloads of vast amounts of information at once. Sometimes it's announced, sometimes they just put it in your head and you don't know where it came from. And maybe you think it's your own thoughts. I don't know. But downloads account for a lot of our probably best movies and books, by the way. So these downloads can be information, but they can also be a simulation that you're transferred to instantly without any warning. That's what happens here. There's a story in Bob Monroe's book where he meets an alien soul that died on another planet somewhere else, and it's traversing the astral, coming to Earth to find a new home to incarnate on, because it's like, I'm done with my planet, I want to go find a new one. Okay, so this is an entity claiming to be doing that. It is an alien spirit. This alien spirit's name, at least translated to English in the book, is Z-55/Lu, L-O-U. That's a dumb, fake, made-up alien name, and I don't think it's very complimentary to my intelligence. It's kind of insulting. So then that guy, this character, is talking to Bob, and he's trying to explain to him how he died on his planet, how he got here, what's going on. And instead of just telling him telepathically how he died, which could have been accomplished very quickly, he says, here, take this, and it's a rote. And instantly transferred to a new place, and he's now on the alien home planet of this character, but it's not reliving this guy's memory because he has autonomy. He's moving around. He has his own body, which he doesn't describe, but he seems to blend in with the citizens, and he says it's humanoid. He says it's like cities, but it's like Earth, but a little bit weirder and different, right? Not very creative. It's similar to Earth. So he seems to blend in. He's walking around interacting awkwardly with humanoids who seem to be like human, but not. Maybe Nordics, I don't know. He didn't really say. And then he's having these awkward interactions. They're kind of pointless. He ends up getting accosted by some military type who's asking for identification. So it's like Earth, very much so. And this is all pointless because a huge tsunami comes out of nowhere and wipes them all out, and he has a traumatic death, drowning. And he experiences it, and it felt real. Okay? Fake event didn't happen. He wasn't there. This isn't the guy's memories. This is his own autonomous situation, which means it's a simulation. There's no other explanation for that. So he then wakes up and is back with the character in the Astral, Z-55-Lu, and he says, see, that's how I died. And I'm like, you couldn't just say I got tsunamied and drowned. You had to trauma bond with me and get me through this whole psychological process. That seems a little unnecessary. And it was benevolent. And he came back from it kind of like shocked and shook up from it, reasonably so. So that was just one random alien, not a guide, ascended master, not a higher self. Even just the regular alien souls can transfer you to these simulations, right? It's kind of weird. He wasn't.
Wait a minute, but are there layers?
What do you mean?
So if this reality that we live in right now is layer 1, let's say, Astro World is layer 2.
Sure.
Can I go to layer 3 from Astro World? Can I go to...
Great timing. I was just about to kind of get into that because there is a section not long after, and I call it Roteception because, the movie Inception, you go one dream into another dream, in the dream into another. This is sort of what happens here, but I'll explain it. So I'm not going to explain the whole story because it's a lot of details, convoluted, and it's crazy, but I'll just say that at another time in the book, Bob meets some alien spirit, a different alien, and he's one of his friends for most of the book, and he wants to explain to him how he got there and what his story is, right? So
wait a minute. So in that Astro Realm...
In the Astral Realm.
There are humans, then there are aliens, all type of creatures.
So many things.
Can meet there in that realm.
Anybody in the whole universe. It's hypothetically.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But it gets extravagant. It gets grandiose and crazy. So he meets this one character randomly. It's all theater. If it's demonic, it's all theatrics with fake characters who are making these situations to convince you of lies, right? So this character gives Bob a rote, a download, a simulation to explain to him his whole story. But instead of having autonomy in this one, like the last one, he now doesn't have control. It's a memory, but it's a memory of that character. So now he's playing this character he met in the Astral named BB, which is an annoying name. I hate to use it. So Bob is now living...
BB?
The letter BB. It's stupid. It's so dumb.
Well, first, BB is Netanyahu's nickname.
He said that too. This guy.
But two, BB, if you add S, if you say BBs,
yeah.
that's a dick in my native language.
Really?
Lithuanian.
I just thought it was like a Beelzebub thing.
No, BBs. So if you ever go to Lithuania, say hi BBs, you're gonna get smacked. Hey dick.
Oh gosh, shouldn't have told me that. So yeah, man, he gets this rote from BB, but it's BB's memories that now Bob is getting transitioned to, and now he's living a memory where he has no control. So he's just watching it happen, right? So he has no autonomy. In this rote, he's living out the memories of this character, and then while he's playing this character in the simulation inside of a simulation, he then meets another character who gives his BB character that Bob is playing. I know it's convoluted. Gives him a rote, so now he's going in one rote to another or 2 times in. It's Russian dolling it, right? So the goal of this is to convince you can access any memory, anything that's ever happened by the Akalshic records. We're all connected, infinite consciousness. It's that kind of concept they're trying to portray, and it's kind of showing off their creativity. But really, what's really happening is they're just switching him one to the next. It's still the astral. It's still a simulation. Just they're making him think he's going deeper into a layer, deeper into a layer, deeper. It's not deeper. It's just switching. But there's instant transitions that have no issues, no glitches. And it's not like a computer where you're like, oh, we short circuited it, and there's like flaws. Like, it's perfect.
It's seamless.
It's seamless. So so they can convince you of whatever. And they're also putting thoughts in your head, so you can just go to this place and go, oh, I know I have this knowing this is a deeper realm simulation, or not a simulation, but a deeper layer. The whole gnosis knowing, that's just merging with a demon giving you downloads. There's no such thing as just knowing complex topics. It's all fed to you via spiritual sources, in my opinion. Or it's God and it's good, but that's, he doesn't do that when you're doing divination. That's not his thing. So there's more. We have on page 166, this is in Leland's book, and he talks about something pretty interesting, another simulation maybe. And I call it immersive astral propaganda. And he says the facilitators, which is his name for certain types of guides. He attributes his own names like facilitators, overseers, instructors. They're just names he's given to the guides for different jobs. But he later says in the book, they might all be one guy and I don't know. Like, they might all be one character and I'm just giving them different names because it seems like it. So which is true. It's all one demon, but he's admitting it, which is funny because he doesn't really know.
But bro, what the fuck? They can travel to other planets and I'm here paying taxes and working my ass off? Maybe I should travel to Mars.
Now, you might
Is that a tax-free zone?
You'll say, I'll have to get back to you that. We got to talk to the Mars government first. But they're underground probably, so you have to access them first.
Shoot.
Yeah,
We'll
figure this out later. I know that's important. He says the facilitators, a type of guide, fulfill a variety of functions in the after-death zone. The zone, he calls it, where you go when you die. So these are where ghosts of dead humans are going where they find the next location to go to, their healing centers or wherever they may be finding themselves. But he, as an astral traveler, you can go anywhere. So you can go where these dead people are. So this is where the dead people are at. He goes to the after-death zone, and he says, depending on which station they've been assigned, thus they may be broken down into subgroups identified by the specific tasks they perform. One night, my guide arranged for me to watch a documentary in the astral that provided an overview of these tasks. I was brought to an area of non-physical reality that I perceived as a conference room large enough to seat a dozen people at several small round tables. At first, I seemed to merely be watching it. Moments later, I was actually inside of it, personally witnessing the things it described while a voice explained what I was seeing. So, he's admittedly so. His guides are taking him to watch an astral documentary, which is, propaganda in the astral as it all is, and he's out of nowhere, no consent, immersed in it. So now he's in a 3D world after watching it on a screen, and then a narrator he can't see, invisible, because they can choose when to present themselves and when not. They're always there because they're facilitating it. They are then putting him through it and explaining it. And what they're explaining to him is what happens to souls after they die and what they go through. And it's a 22-page, nightmarish, kind of ghoulish, weird story. And it's basically telling you what is happening without the rose-colored glasses of the soul's individual perception, because your own perception builds the world around it, but symbolically it's metaphorical for something literally happening. And they're saying this is what literally it looks like. And it's kind of horrifying. And I'm not going to get into it. I covered a little bit in the book, but it's a whole rabbit hole to read the book.
But bro, at the same time, the technocrats right here are trying to do the same stuff, right? Apple Vision Pro with this
it's so
immersive
meta. I know,
right?
And they call it meta.
This is the same thing.
Essentially, it's not out of body, of course, but it's the same concept. Immerse yourself in a fake world and ignore the material around you and don't develop any relationships, etc.
And until we have this chip in our head when we would be able to
Not me,
connect
brother.
some device with our brain.
And that's going to be the biggest
brain.
consent signing form you've ever done in a metaphysical sense. I think when that stuff shows up, which is not probably too distant from now, it's going to be coming with a couple things. One, it's signing a contract with demons, absolutely, in my head. And if you are doing that, you are giving permission to get downloaded with whatever they want. And that includes past life memories. Because whenever crazy stuff goes down with the fake alien stuff, man, I'm telling you, they're going to need people to have their own spiritual experiences to ground it. And for all the normies out there that aren't like us looking into this stuff, which is most people, they're going to be exposed to all this craziness all at once. And then they're going to get downloaded with fake past life memories or with information to give them context for the crazy stuff happening. That's what I believe is going to happen in the not too distant future. What do I know? I'm just a schizophrenic. But dude, it makes sense. Like if someone, how do you get the world to hate Christians? All at once, which is, scripturally backed as something that might happen at some point, in my opinion. And it makes sense if it's involved in people having spiritual experiences, validating a non-biblical cosmology. If you get most of the world to have this, they're going to come against Christians pretty hard,
But you know what's crazy? So right now it's June 11th. We're doing this podcast on June 11th.
Yes, that's right.
Tomorrow premieres the new movie of Spielberg's.
Oh, I think that's technically tonight.
Tonight.
So they do it like a day earlier than they say, yeah.
Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
And Spielberg said himself that this movie is about to
make Christians down,
question your own faith.
What a piece of trash that guy is.
But I'm super interested for the movie.
I'll probably watch it, yeah, whatever.
But I would say if you're strong in your faith, this movie is going to only strengthen your belief,
yeah.
right?
But a lot of people, I wouldn't say
it's
have
gonna
that.
filter out.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the movie. It's what are the odds that this movie, which has been planned for years, is coming out right around the time the government's disclosing things? A weird little coincidence.
Right?
Yeah.
America's 250th birthday, Trump's 80th birthday, World Cup.
Don't
even start it.
We'll do that later. Yeah, man. But yeah, this stuff continues, and I'm going to get into some excerpts that prove that they don't have as much control or autonomy in the astral as a lot of people might think. Because when you study the astral a little bit, you don't really notice these things, but they give away clues quite often, and I've collected them. So in Monroe's book, in his first book, he's saying this one quote before he figured out who his guides were. So it's early days, and he says,
Page number, please.
113, and it's gentle but firm hands, which, like I said, I try to have silly titles for every little subsection. So he says, one of the greatest enigmas of this whole affair is that someone, or more than one, has been helping me from time to time in such experimentation. Perhaps they're with me every time, and I'm just not aware of them. I do not know who these helpers are or why they're helping me. They certainly do not seem to be guardian angels. Their assistance seems to be more of their choosing and deliberation than mine. They are rarely friendly in the sense that we understand the term. The feeling of gentle but firm hands on each side of me was very strong. The same hands turning me around to leave, much as one steers a blind person, could not have been more vivid. He's telling you, one, the guardian angels are the helpers, his higher selves, guides, that are always around. He doesn't really see them always, but they show up at convenient times. For example, he'll get attacked by a really nasty entity that's it's a false flag, what's happening here, it's a fake villain, and then some entity will show up and save him. And they'll be like, hey, you can trust me, I saved you. And then boom, you have a new friend.
Why do you think that's a script?
It's all script. It's all theater, because it's getting you to, they're trying to scare you into never being alone in the astral. You're always going to have a guide there. They're facilitating it. They're just invisible and they don't show themselves. And then when they want to, they will. They want you to believe that that you can be alone and that this is real and not facilitated by us. But they also want you to think it's totally not weird if they're always there. They want you to be okay with it because they're always going to be there. And one day you're going to find out that they're always there, and they don't want you to be weirded out by it. So they're trying to make you think they're good guys by giving you a fake villain and then saving you from them.
How do you know that?
Because I've studied this stuff for a long time, and that's the only explanation that makes sense with all the other data. That's an assumption I guess I'm making, but it's based on a lot of data that if you read the book, you would agree with me. Mm-hmm. I'm biased, though, of course. But that's just reverse wargaming the theatrical elements here, which is what my whole book is about breaking down why would they do this, what benefit does it have, how do we know this is happening, and it all is kind of unified in a way that makes sense to me. But
isn't the governments of the world doing the same stuff in our reality?
You mean like are they involved in
false
these...
flag?
Oh, yeah.
Give us your freedom or more taxes,
yeah.
We're going to take care of you. Right?
Yeah, where do you think these ideas came from, man? This is all the material psyops, because there's elaborate fake, like reverse psychology embedded in psyops all the time, especially the modern ones. You know, like the whole Trump third assassination attempt, they're like, everybody says right after the ballroom thing, they're like, oh my God, it was so obvious that was fake and it was a plant and he's just doing this to build the ballroom. When you got the whole world saying that within hours of it happening, guess what? They want you to believe that. Why do they want you to believe that he's faking an assassination attempt? I have my complex theories on why, but reverse psychology is embedded in all of our major psyops now because they're trying to force this mass awakening on people right now. That's a lot of half-truths, a lot of real stuff, but it's to guide you down certain narratives and belief systems, and I hate to be controversial, but a lot of people don't like the Jays right now, and I'm not a fan of them, not a fan of Israel and what they're doing as a government at all. But why do they that control the world apparently want you to believe this about them? Why do they allow it to proliferate into the information sphere so much? It used to be censored everywhere. And yeah, there's still some censoring to keep up appearances, but overall, it's weird if you don't talk about it negatively. I believe it's part of, I think it's scriptural, and they're trying to force prophecy in such a way. So
all the Jews come to Israel? For their Messiah to come?
Well, their Messiah is the Antichrist, as far as I'm concerned. And that may or may not be a thing happening right now. But, I'm not an expert on the genealogy of it because I know there's a lot of, different views on that. But I do believe that, we're in prophetic times, no doubt, and that Israel's culmination as a, entity since 1948 probably is fulfilling prophecy, though that's a controversial take that not a lot of people agree with. Some people do. But what, this is just
Let's not make it about the Jews.
I know. I didn't mean to do it. I promise. I don't want to get you deplatformed.
They're not doing this, by the way. We're making fun, or we're just touching the topics all the time.
Two regular dudes having a conversation.
YouTube, thank you for not banning me.
Yeah.
And
we
demonetizing the video with the channel itself.
You would never do that to us. We're sweet guys. Yeah, man. So he's telling you in this part, though, that he says, the same hands turning me around to leave, much as one steers a blind person, could not have been more vivid. He's feeling someone grab him, push him around if they're not going where you want to, because they're guiding your thoughts. If you don't listen to your thoughts of where to go, they'll just push you. That happened to me plenty of times, plenty. And I just used to think, oh, I'm just bad at this. But why am I going the opposite direction I'm trying to go mentally? Because they're pushing me there. They do that. So there's this other part, which is very similar. I call it Supermind Take the Wheel, if anybody gets that reference. And it says, your destination seems to be grounded completely within the framework of your innermost constant motivations, emotions, and desires. You may not consciously want to go there, but you have no choice. Your supermind, or your soul, is stronger and usually makes a decision for you. He's saying your destinations, you're going in the astral, most of the time is decided by your supermind, your higher self is that word. This means you're not choosing where to go. He's saying they know better. They know what's best for you because it's you outside of time from the future. So you're going to listen to him because he knows what's best for you, if that's who he really is.
But it seems like a video game.
Essentially, yeah, it is.
RPG video game.
Yeah, but you don't have full control in those. You have like a limited amount of control, and you can run around, but you are guided to certain areas for missions.
Some about just pointing with the mouse. Where do you go? And what do you do?
Yeah, you don't have.
And you can see him.
Yeah.
But you go there.
Exactly. So it's just a few excerpts admitting that you're not really fully deciding where you go, what you learn, what you do, and even the whole time your thoughts are intuitively guided, which they admit to being able to do, more so in following excerpts I'm going to cover. Additionally, these are a few short quotes that he says are things he discovered after Monroe Institute started, which are things he's gotten data on from a bunch of astral travelers, not just himself. So he says they, as in his guides or channeled entities that come in through the Monroe Institute and go through these, test subjects of psychics, they can change the temperature of that visited human body. Okay, that's interesting. Also, notice how easily any potential anxieties or fears are overcome by simply a pattern of radiation emanating from strangers. This is important. These entities in the astral are constantly making him feel good and feel love and feel really good emotions. They can chemically alter your thoughts in the astral very easily, okay? To make him feel good. Now, what happens in the Bible whenever angels show up to people? What do they always say to people?
They're either messengers or they're, let's say, destroying Sodom and Gomorrah.
Well, no, what do they say to the person? They'll say,
don't be afraid.
Exactly. They always tell you, don't be afraid. They don't jack into your chemicals and make you feel good, make you feel love. They let you decide because that's manipulation. Even if you're a good guy, why don't you just tell me? And why do you have to jack into my chemicals, manipulate them to make me feel good and feel love? That actually seems like the opposite of what you should do if you're a good guy. That seems emotional manipulation, which is exactly what everybody who goes in the astral will experience if you talk to these entities. Or they'll do the opposite, make you feel scared when you're at the right place for when it's strategically important. They cater to that, but they can do either one. So they constantly are making you feel good and feel love, so it must be positive, right? Listen, if you're an evil entity and you're an ancient and you got to deceive people, I would pretend to be your friend and I'd make you feel good if I wanted to deceive you. I'm just saying, like that.
Okay, so you're my guest at my place. So if I can make you feel good, let's say ice water, tea,
Then I'm gonna have to
why,
kill you.
why wouldn't I do that?
No, it's not that it's bad in general, but you're not. I'm not coming into your house and you're blasting some ray at me to make my emotions go happy. You're doing nice things. That's not the same thing.
Because this is the way I operate. Maybe they operate.
No. But they're not doing nice things. They're literally chemically controlling him. I mean, I guess it's not physical because it's in the astral, but they're metaphysically controlling his emotions by not doing nice things for him, but just by flipping a switch in your astral brain, essentially. That's manipulation. That's not what you're doing. You're just being a nice guy. That's totally
Yeah,
different.
but I'm human. Those entities, this is the way they operate.
No. But if you're in the astral and you have a friend out there and he's coming to your astral house, you're not going to jack into his chemicals. You're just going to show him a good time, be nice. Because it's weird and kind of infiltrationary otherwise. Do you know what I'm saying, though?
I don't. I do, but I don't agree with you.
Oh, God. You're like, I would jack into your chemicals. I'm just saying, it's like more deliberately deceitful, in my opinion. I feel like that makes sense, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's complicated. There is quite a few more things here. He says he says the entire history of humankind and Earth is available to them in the most minute detail if needed. Now, I already made the case earlier. I didn't bring a lot of examples. It's in the book, but all these entities that are channeled who I said give disagreeing details on our lore and history and characters like Jesus and demons and etc. And I said they diverge on details so much they can't all be telling the truth, right? But they're claiming all these astral entities have full access to the Akalshic records and to all things. So there shouldn't be any disagreement, majorly at least, on the history of our world. It should all be relatively the same. It's not. So if they can all access this in minute detail, he says, then they're lying to you. That's the only thing to take away from it. And then he says, not only can they utilize the vocal cords and breathing apparatus, which means they can possess you, but they have total access to the memory storage lodged in the individual. Now this is controversial. A lot of Christians don't want to believe this or don't agree with this, but I personally believe, and they just admit it here, that demons can't read your thoughts. Now, we know they can implant thoughts. If you don't know that in demonology, you're kind of far behind. But why can't they read them too? They're basing a lot of their deceptions around things that require knowing who you are as a person, knowing your insecurities. And yeah, they could just be watching you for many years. But I believe they can access your memories and pull them out, and it's data collection. They are, and I believe they're a hive mind for many reasons. This is important because if they are, think about the alien lore. If you look into that for 5 minutes, you see all the aliens on ships and all the past life memories on alien planets. If you look into those, everybody there is telepathic. And not only are they telepathic, but they're all connected to each other by a hive mind. The higher self of these astral entities, they're always hive-minded. And they admit to it. Raw material, the 6th density character that is channeled, claims to be a hive mind. They're always a hive mind, and that's a theme you'll keep seeing come up over and over and over. They're admitting, I believe, that demons are a hive mind. And the only way for them to carry out these complex deceptions over all time in a unified way is if they are able to share information instantly with all their characters. They are individual demons, in my opinion. They have their own personality, but they're still stuck to the hive mind. They can't escape it, and they're able to share information instantly like an AI. Think about an AI in the ether controlled by an evil demon lord, Satan, whatever you want to call it. And they have access to all your memories, your thoughts, your insecurities, emotions, and they can think about what your phone knows about you, right? From just what you research and what you look into and maybe what you say near it. Add on thoughts, memories, insecurities, and then put it into an evil hive mind. What can you do with that information? Well, guess what? You can make a lot of prophecies seemingly come true, but really you're just analyzing data and you know where someone's going to be and you can access all these people. And I think people can be protected by the Holy Spirit from this kind of thing, but that's few and far between. Not everybody on earth has Jesus covered in the blood and also living a decently in, covenant life, which I think is partially a requirement here. You don't have to be perfect, but I think your heart has to be in a healthy place with the Lord for you to have protection. Otherwise, you're open, in my opinion, to memory access. So if you have an AI data center in the ether, and instead of cooling the AI data centers in the real world with water like they do, they're cooling the etheric demon AI data centers with the collective sins of humanity or something. That's like a weird way to look at it, but the more we're collectively giving consent and sinning, the more access they have to us, and the more they can create false prophecies. So my whole thing is here: if you go to a medium, right, and I go to you and you're a medium, and you say, you're going to get a raise soon, you're going to get a promotion at your job, you're going to be very successful. They'll say things like that. And then it might come true like a week later. Now, if you're a demon AI hive mind, all you have to do is look at your boss and go, oh, well, they're about to fire the guy whose job you might be taking, and you're next in line for it, and they already know this is about to happen because your bosses are trying to fire this guy. And now, if you believe this prophecy, one, you're able to now give demons assignment to consent to let them now go on assignment and implant more thoughts in the memory into the brains of the people who are in charge of making this decision so they can manifest it. This is what manifesting really is, okay, in the Christianized view. So it's your belief, it acts as consent for demons to involve themselves, but also they already knew this was going to happen because they have data. They're looking at people carried out. It just hasn't happened yet for you. So you get a raise next week and you get a promotion and you go, oh my God, the medium knew the future. And it seems prophetic. And you're like, well, that must mean they can time travel. Or data analysis of things they can see flatly in front of their eyes, and they're just giving it to you through a medium, through downloads, and then you're giving them consents to involve themselves by divination. That's like for 9/11. How many thousands of stories have people heard, maybe not you, but people have heard of people getting prophetic dreams of 9/11? Do you think demons might have known about 9/11 in advance? I think a lot of humans did. I definitely think demons would. So if they knew about it, they give thousands of people, it seems to be, prophetic dreams of it, and then you wake up and see it happen. Oh my God, that means my consciousness, this is what the New Age talks about. I must be having a prophetic psychic dream. I got to look into the New Age, which has answers for this. It's a gateway drug. Am I making sense?
So with 9/11, there's an interesting fact. So do you know the year that started WTC building? Building 1?
Like when they built it?
Started building.
Oh, shoot. I don't know. Like a couple, like 5 or 6 decades sooner, right?
1968.
Yeah.
Do you know the year when 9/11
2001.
No, 9/11 became the emergency number?
Wasn't it late 90s?
1968.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Same year.
interesting. Very weird. Well, you know, there's
What
a
a
lot
coincidence, huh?
yeah, well, yeah, I believe in coincidences, right?
And 33 years later,
Oh, was it 33? Oh my gosh.
1968 plus 33, 2001, 9/11. And Mohammed Atta, whose passport was found outside. He was
Happened to find it.
Yeah, and he was 33
Lucky
years
day.
old.
Oh, really? These sick bastards. They just
What are the odds?
sprinkle 33s everywhere.
Yeah, it's,
That's fun. Yeah, well, there's a lot of hours long of material showing how weird that whole situation is. But yeah, man, do I'm making sense about the hive mind thing? Like, I really believe if you read this book, you'll see that there's so many things that require instant information access and sharing between all these demons to make it carry out in the way it does. Whenever they disagree and stuff in the channel lore, you're like, oh, well, then how are they giving so many people different stories?
mm-hmm.
It is strategic. It is beneficial. Think about it. If that's the case, why didn't they create one counter religion to Christianity? If Christianity is the way, then that means every other religion is created by demons or by men who maybe demons utilized, right? Or possessed. They created all these various belief systems, which largely align in a lot of ways, but disagree in a lot of ways too. They always go against the Bible, of course, except for Christianity, true biblical Christianity, not all of them. It's strategically beneficial to do that because they know people will gravitate towards either what they grow up with or what makes sense to them initially. Most people aren't going to go on a spiritual journey and read all the books from different belief systems and try to find the one that makes the most sense. And even if they do, they might pick the wrong one, statistically speaking. But most people they know human nature. They have similar thought processes to us, so there's ancient evil. They know it's beneficial to create various belief systems as opposed to one. So the channel work is supposed to be diverging. So it seems like all these different entities are doing this stuff. They know 99.9% of people aren't going to listen to anybody doing what I'm doing, which is cross-examining them. And most of those people aren't going to do it themselves, of course. So they know it's beneficial to create all these different belief systems, just like they create mythology over the many, many hundreds of years and thousands of years for different cultures with different characters, different masks. But it's it's so you don't find it as one singular unified source.
Mm-hmm.
But if you cross-examine it, it's always against Christianity, ultimately, and no one else, ultimately. So that's how I came to these conclusions, but it took a long time. Well, a couple of years, I guess. But does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's complicated, but I feel like that's an important point to get across. But there's one thing I wanted to read on the memory thing on page 146, and it's Bob talking about going to the Akalshic records of his own life. So his own memories that he's forgotten. Most people forget most of their memories, or it's locked in some box they can't access. He wants to remember things about himself, be a true full-blown narcissist, and he says he's trying to turn inward and figure out things about himself. So he goes in and he says, I immediately expected I immediately encountered the expected, a layer or file, library or mainframe containing every moment of my life to date, with more pouring in that matched exactly my thoughts and actions as I conducted the investigation. This was far more than memory as we consciously think of it. Upon selection of any given point in the past, I relived the event in every detail, down to each minute sensory input, thought, and emotion. I soon realized sensory supermemory was not altogether pleasurable. With such intense hindsight, one becomes all too painfully and sadly aware of the many irrational decisions made, the stupid mistakes, and the missed opportunities. So this is telling you, if he's getting an entity to facilitate his own access to his own memories in perfect detail, minute sensory input that he's reliving like it's the first time, just like people's past life memories, it feels like you're reliving it like really realistically. Same like full somatic experience that he's having here. If he can do that and they're facilitating it, that means they can do it. They're admitting this power. He already said they can do it, and they're gods and ascended masters. If they're not who they say they are, they're demons. Okay, there's only one of the two. There's no third option here. And that means they can access these. So people need to understand, if they can access this and have a hive mind, they can prophesy a lot of fake stuff. Deuteronomy 13:1-3 says, there will be prophets and dreamers having prophetic dreams that will make them go after other gods. He says this will happen. Does it mean they can predict the future, or does it mean they just are giving you fake visions based around a data collection analysis, right? That's what I'm saying it is. And just because it comes true doesn't mean it's from God. Doesn't mean it's real time travel abilities. They want you to believe they have time travel abilities, just like some of the aliens that are going to be showing themselves. They want you to believe that's possible. Only God can change time, in my opinion. Not biased there. There's like a lot of, I have a whole presentation on this. But what do I know? So yeah, man, it's just important material there. And on page 159, I don't think I'm going to read this. I'll just explain it. But Kurt Leland talks about these shadow worlds, the 3 types. And basically he says, in the astral, you can go visit these shadow worlds, and there's 3 different ones. One where you can see what your life would have been like if you made a certain decision in the past differently. And then you can see a simulation of what your life would have been like if you'd done that. Or what your life will be like if you make a decision right now in your life, in the present, and then see where it takes you. Or if you do something in the future and it'll show you a different simulation. It's like past, present, future. He says that you can go here and basically get a simulation and find out what your life would be like if you do this thing. So this way, if you don't know what career you want to take, or who you want to marry, or what major life decision to make, just go into the astral.
Super convenient.
It is very convenient, right? And you'll know the for sure future that definitely happens. You can go basically get a simulation made for you, training you what they want you to do with your life. That's what they're doing. It's the biggest gross psyop here. Now, and he says it's realer than reality. It feels like everything else, but it's an Akashic records of things that never have happened or will happen for the most part, right? It's an admitted simulation. So how can you have this memory of something that's never going to happen because it's in the past of a timeline that didn't exist? How can they know it would happen? A simulation would explain it, and that aligns with everything else I'm saying here. So it's just, it's silly, because the guides, they talk about this place, and they say a couple crazy things. They say, one, the asylums of your world, all the crazy people, are filled with people who went insane. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because they went to the shadow worlds in the astral so much without guidance. They say it's because you didn't go with a guide and you didn't know what to do. You went without guides, and then you came back to your body forgetting what it's like in the past, present, and future, and you go crazy. Now, they're telling you that your astral experiences drove you to schizophrenia, and it's covered. I'll keep ranting. Don't worry. So they say that all the crazy people, not all of them, but a lot of them that have schizophrenia went crazy because of bad astral travel without guides. So it's one thing scaring him into having guides, which, like I said, they're always going to be there. They just want you to be cool with it. 2, it's covering up totally spiritual harassment from demons, which is what the cause of schizophrenia is. If you have 2 brain cells, I'm sorry. Looking at Jerry Marzinski's work, or anybody who actually has kind of evidence for this, the way when you entertain the voices and talk to them and see what they say and how they respond to certain things you bring up, it seems like demonic behavior. Now, and there's a lot of reasons for that. So he's saying that there's no such thing as schizophrenia from demonic harassment. No, they're saying it's because you went crazy because you did astral travel wrong. And here's how you do it right with us. You need us. It's killing multiple birds with one stone. It's a really weird, elaborate psyop. And it's a simulation. Admittedly so. Okay? So they're not telling him it's a simulation, but it's nothing else it can be if it never happened, and it never was, and it's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's just all over the place. You have on page 174, Now, this is where I cover some of the other Astral Traveler lore that isn't from Monroe or Leland, but it's a few bits on other people like Emmanuel Swedenborg and William Bullman and Robert Bruce, a different Robert Astral Traveler. And Robert Bruce has 2 sections. I'll just summarize. One, he talks about in his book Astral Dynamics, he talks about going into the astral, and before you go into a realm, when you're in the real-time zone, you're the ghost world of here, which I said is also a simulation, you can jump into a painting like that right there, and you will end up creating, your subconscious mind tricks you into creating a 3D world around you that is a virtual reality realm. He says it's a virtual reality realm, and you can go to it if you just jump into a painting in the astral. And then if you want, if you cut out pictures of people, put them on the painting, dead people, living, doesn't matter, you will go there and you'll find them there. It'll create a thought form shell, a subconscious manifestation of them. And if they're a dead person, you might be able to summon your actual dead relative or loved one this way. He says, but it might be a thought form of them created by your mind. Now, he's basically telling people put a bunch of hot models on a mood board and go bang them in the astral. That's what he's telling you to do. And I did not do that. I did not. But I did the next thing we're going to talk about. What do you have?
But it feels like there are a couple of new AI projects that, let's say, my mom died 12 years ago. Let's say they say upload everything that you got on your mom, videos, pictures,
gosh, I saw that, yeah.
voice, and etc. And we're gonna module.
That's so evil.
Her being real, and you'll be able to talk to her. This is the same.
Or just wait till you get to heaven. But yeah, you could you could do that, I suppose, if you want the AI, mother.
But they're trying to imitate that world into this world.
They
want to bring this thing into this world.
Yeah. Oh well, and also you got to consent to it. They're not just going to force you to build your mother into an AI, but they're giving you the option.
Bro, TNC 10 pages. You just click, I accept, confirm. That's it.
Yeah.
This is your consent. It's written. It's written down. Did you read it? No. That's your problem, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, it's, the demons are lawyers, and they have to be in this universe created by Yahweh, who has a relatively extremely fair universe structure metaphysically based on the free will aspect. With how much free will we have, this is as perfect as it gets. And people think a lot of things are unfair and evil, and I'm like, well, that's because of evil people, not because of God. But he's not going to control you. This is a test realm, to see where we go in the afterlife. That's what I believe, what the Bible tells me, basically. Which people think is a slave mindset, but I came from the other side, and I hated Christianity really a lot, and I realized I was powered by demons, and now I totally get it. I think it's all justified, but not everybody can see that. Now, he also talked, so you can go into paintings and create a simulation realm in the astral. Another admittance of simulation, right? But it's your subconscious mind creating it, not a demon who's facilitating it. That's their story of it, right? He also says you can jump into mirrors, and if you go into a mirror in the astral, you'll come out the other side and portal into an alternate dimension where everything's just reversed, like a mirror. I thought that was retarded when I heard that. I said, this guy's full of shit. I don't buy it. No way. And then I tried it because I'm stupid. So I do this one day, and I go out of body, I jump through a mirror, and I think I believe it's not going to work. I'm just going to go through the wall, and I'll be outside the house. I already know what's going to happen. And I've went through mirrors before, and this never happened in the astral. I just didn't think about it. But now that I have this expectation, and they're reading my mind, and I'm doubting it, they're going to go, oh, watch this, we're going to do it to them. So I go through the mirror, and I come out a portal, and I'm in a freaking reverse mirror image world. And I'm like, I'm getting real, uneasy feeling. I'm getting real nervous. I'm like, this feels weird. I see my body in my room, and everything's the same, just reversed. And it's, really just trippy. It's like, this feels weird as hell. And I'm thinking, if I jump into my body right now before going back to the portal, am I going to be in some alternate universe? And I jump into my body, I'm going to be crippled and gay, like the opposite of me, obviously. And that's the jokes I'm telling myself in the astral here right while I'm doing
straight, bro.
I hope so. It's you never know, because I'm so straight in this world. It's like I won't be in the other one, right?
Bro, it's your month.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'll do it this month, but this was in April or something. So anyway, I jump back to the portal to go back into my body, and then I do, and I'm like, back in the real world, I'm like, well, that was a close one, guys. I'm gonna get stuck in mirror world or whatever the hell that was. Like I said, I was retarded and possessed by demons. I was evil. That's the dumb thoughts I had going through my head. So that was a real thing, though. That I didn't believe it, and it happened. But like I said, if simulation theory 2.0 I'm bringing about is accurate, then this kind of explains it all, right? And they're reading my mind and building it around my, whatever they want. They know I'm doubting it. They're like, oh, we're gonna prove you wrong, and they build it. It's easy for them. It's not like anything that requires much work on their behalf.
Did you read Yuval Noah Harari's book *Sapiens*?
I don't read that guy's book. I know him though.
So 10 years ago, he said that it's better for us to consent for more personalized ads because this is the way they're going to create the new world around us. So we're going to see only the ads that we care of. Let's say automobiles only.
Because they can read our minds, know what's better for us. Yeah, catered ads.
You're not going to see, let's say, something for a dog if I don't even own a dog. You're going to see it only for cats, only for, let's say, for the kids.
Don't you want better
children.
ads that are more relevant?
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're already doing quite a bit of that, but yeah, I don't know if that's one of the lower list of problems on our list that we have coming up. So I'm not all the things.
What would you say are the best movie examples to watch on this topic?
On this topic, man, you know,
simulation.
I don't watch a ton of stuff lately. I've watched just Nathan Fielder shows so I can reverse war game deception, honestly. If anybody in the comment section knows anything about that, hit me up. But that's how I actually became able to be like, look at things through a really like reverse engineering deceptive lens. Is actually from a TV show series, which is the most elaborate deceptive show I've ever seen, and it's hilarious. Shout out Nathan Fielder, I love you, even though you're kind of evil maybe. Anyway.
What's the name of the show?
He has 3 shows, and they're my favorite shows, all of them. Nathan For You, The Rehearsal, probably the greatest show ever made, and The Curse, which are 2 of them are like Borat, where you're messing with real people and deceiving them, but instead of minutes or hours, it's weeks and months sometimes. And his one show is helping small business owners with elaborate marketing techniques, but they're like super goofy and silly, and they kind of work, but not in a good press kind of way. And it's the funniest show ever of all time. But it's like if you have the boys over and you're trying to have a good time and get it silly, that's what you put on. And he has darker shows which are similar, but it's just elaborate deception with really, 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 really dry acting. And I watched that show and boom, I become like a genius at reverse engineering, like wargaming material. I'm telling you, it will have an effect on the way you look at life in like kind of a messed up way. Michael Aquino's Mind War kind of stuff into a TV comedy. Pretty elaborate. I never talk about that, but it's actually important and it's in a kind of weird way. But yeah, man, it's movies about this, dude. I really don't watch much lately, and simulation stuff, there's nothing that's going to be promoting this concept. There'll be some simulation VR type maybe movies, but nothing where like the Astro Realms fake. That's too big of a secret to reveal.
Did you watch 13th Floor?
No.
Such a great movie.
Is it?
It's like 25 years old.
Okay. I like
Incredible
old stuff. I'm a big Stanley Kubrick guy, you know. I like some Paul Thomas Anderson type movies, you know. I like that artsy weird stuff. But yeah, man, we got a couple more things here. This one's really, again, showing their creative power in the simulation, which if they can do this, what I'm going to read, they can do any past life memory easily, or secret space program sci-fi memory, which people do not really read about. It's very silly. So this is Leland and his book on page 168. God, I don't know if I can curse this much. I probably shouldn't.
Again.
Okay, well, I call this section...
Free speech.
Okay, no, it is.
America.
My book, okay, for all the wholesome Christians listening, my book is, I think, hilarious, maybe cringy at times. I wrote it really fast, but it's funny and it's entertaining, and you're not going to be bored reading it, but it's actual serious lore and, you know, reverse engineering of deception. But I talk really silly. This one part I call... I turned you into motherfucking grass and you ate that shit up. That's what I call it. And I say it with like kind of a black accent, but like a really bad one like I just did. And it says, as if in an unusually vivid dream, before I say, his guides come to him in the astral and they say, we're going to visit you in your dreams tonight. Again, showing these worlds are connected. By the way, if you go into the astral lore, they'll always say, oh, if you go into a lucid dream, you can turn it into a real astral travel if you know how. What does that tell you about the nature of these things? Not a good sign according to what I've been saying, but he says his guides came to him one night and he says, as if in an unusually vivid dream, I became a single blade of grass. A strong wind blows me this way and that, and I feel exhilarated. All at once, I became aware that I'm surrounded by millions of other grass blades. I make a startling realization. I can simultaneously maintain an awareness of myself as a single grass blade and as a multitude of grass blades. Yet my unique beingness has a precise location within the vast tapestry of grass that surrounds me. Very good, the overseer says. You learn quickly. We've designed a set of images and sensations in order to illustrate certain aspects of the human condition, he says. Our intention is to show you how the evolution of human consciousness looks from our perspective. So his guides come to him in a dream and give him a simulation as a leaf, as a freaking grass blade. And then he says, but I can feel myself as many grass blades at once. Hive mind normalization. Again, why is it constantly happening? They're constantly using this concept over and over. And they're saying we designed it to teach you about evolution, because a lot of reincarnation teaches that you started off as like single cell organisms or grass and rocks, literally, and then that you became insects, then higher level bugs, and then maybe a dolphin if you're lucky, or an elephant or a dog, maybe on the better side, but animals, and then humans. And some people teach you just keep raising your consciousness and it only goes up, and then you're a human for a long time and then you escape the reincarnation loop. Others teach, no, you can go to a human and then you can downgrade to a fish if you do really bad stuff. Other people don't teach that. In the regression lore, you never hear of people going, oh, I want to go back to be a fish. I actually got to talk about that more. That's actually a really good point I forgot about. But you plan out your life in between each incarnation, but no one ever plans to go back down below a human, ever, in the regression lore. Damn it, I never think of that. That's a good point. Because I covered that later and I forget about that one. Anyway, so he loved it. He was turning to grass and he goes, I love this. This is fun. Okay. They're making him feel good. They're making him, he says he feels nutrients going through his little grass blade body. This is the level of sensation control and imaginary like mind like control they're putting into him in the astral. Anything. Grass. He then is turned into a flower and then a bee. Hive mind, another hive mind little reference there, weird. He's flying around like a bee and goes into a hive, has a whole experience, explains it like it's realer than reality, again. And we know that, you know, animals in the Bible can possess humans, animals, and altars to soak up your worship or consents, whatever it may be. Dry places, the Bible says, like probably crystals or something. He would get into that. But where was I? I'm having a brain fart. But my point is, he moves into all these bodies and then he turns into a bee. And then he's downgraded to a raspberry, and then he's put into a human gardener in this dream simulation where he's interacting with all these beings around him. They're doing this to remind him we're all connected. We're all connected to one source, so it doesn't matter what body we take over. They're normalizing possession and sharing bodies, which is a concept you'll see constantly in my book, in the Astro lore. I'm not going to read it all today. And then the same thing happens in Robert Monroe's book, where he's time traveling astrally to the year 3000, which is funny because the only people who went to the year 3000 astrally was him and Joe McMoneagle, the top remote viewer ever for the U.S. government, who didn't astrally go there, but he remote viewed the year 3000 specifically. Same year as Bob. And I do a whole breakdown in my book, and he was actually a teacher at Monroe Institute teaching remote viewing for 3 decades, and his wife, Nancy Scooter McMoneagle, silly name, was the president from 2014 to 2019. So they're all connected, and they all hung out, and they were all friends. I think McMoneagle is actually Robert Monroe's father-in-law or brother-in-law or something like that. Like they're married into each other's families. They both saw the year 3000 and give completely different stories. Bob's is more fantastical and weird and like new, like they're both new age, but McMoneagle's is more tech-based and more grounded in reality. But they're totally different stories, but stuff they're more likely to believe, right? You know, they don't make sense. So in Bob's year 3000, he goes and meets up with BB from the future. They're friends again in the future.
He's alive.
The same guy. The same guy.
Bro, in year 3000?
Dude, he's not going away. I'm sorry, guys. He's sticking around. we have a lot of time to deal with that man. I'm sorry. So he goes there and he's hanging out with Bibi Netanyahu, and Bibi Netanyahu is taking him into. He says, "You want to have fun?" to Bob. And he's like, "Sure, what do we do for fun in the year 3000, right?" And he's like, "I'll show you." Boom, instant transition. His body, without him desiring it, he's now possessing from a human body in this astral experience, which is in a physical body that feels physical. It's not just astral, he's in the year 3000 in a physical body. And he's like 22 years old again, and it feels real, so just keep that in mind. And then he takes him into that body and switches him instantly into a panther? First a blade of grass. A leaf. He's in a leaf, not a grass. And then he is into a panther and a bird. And he feels what it's like and runs around and has fun as these beings. And it feels what he describes what is probably very much like the real animal's experience, which they can simulate. And then he's back into his body, and he was kind of like, he was having a good time. And they're normalizing possessing and sharing bodies. They all in the future, they share bodies with everybody. And they're like, yeah, it's no big deal. We'll just make more if we need, without having sex, of course, with machinery.
I'm not subscribing to that shit. No sex? Not subscribe.
Yeah, man, if I'm going to freaking make more bodies, I want to do it the old natural way that's God intended, you know what I'm saying? But I guess I'm a freak for that, whatever.
Such a big
right. So, not that they're against all the sexual misconduct, of course. They're all about that. It's just they just procreate differently in the future. They don't like the whole having babies wholesome stuff. It's too wholesome. They want to break up families, right? So, yeah, man. And then how much time you think we're going for this? I want to make sure I don't
No
go
worries.
overkill.
We got all the time in the world.
I bet. All right, I like it. Cool. All right, I'm going crazy then. Another admitted simulation here is on page 154, focus 27. Now, Bob talks about focus levels, which is his word for basically describing different locations you can access in the astral, but he's trying to map it and have this whole mappable science to it, but everybody has a whole different explanation of it, so it's not really solid. It's kind of just made up in his head. But focus 27 he describes as the park or reception center, which is this non-physical area where you can be in Mormon heaven, basically. You can create your own world. You know, when in Mormons, they believe when they die, they become God of their own universe, which is exactly what they're doing here. But they say if you die, before you reincarnate and plan your next life, you can just have a vacation. And then before you do that, before you go to the next life, you can go to this vacation world and literally create whatever you want. Hedonistic Central, you can do anything you want. And this is what he says about it. And he says all his people at Monroe Institute do this, all of them. So it's not just him, it's all these people, and they're getting the same data. It says, each individual is invited to create his own personal and special place within Focus 27, a place to which he may return at will, and it will like maintain its form. Like if you go back, it'll be the same way you left it. The forms
So
that
this game has saves. Not,
yeah,
not like on Nintendo,
no, exactly.
right?
It's kind of
Very
cool.
convenient.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so he says the forms that these places take are as varied and unique as the participants themselves, ranging from log cabins by quiet streams to clumps of trees, South Sea islands, palaces of crystal, and corners of one's heart. I think the crystal thing's funny with the whole demonology, and also how in past life memories on another planet, because sometimes people get alien planet past life memories. It's always perfect societies with telepathic abilities. Everybody's in a hive mind, and there's always like palaces of crystal. So it's funny that they're like seeding these ideas in constantly. But yeah, so he's telling you this is a world you can go, and he even visits his friend. So his friend died. His name was Charlie, and he goes and visits Charlie in the astral, who's dead. And as a ghost, Charlie's like, I don't want to plan my next incarnation, so I'm going to go to my dream world. And in his dream world, he's got a thought form wife in a log cabin, and he's just doing whatever he wants. He's banging this like total demon succubus thought form wife while he's there and just having a good time. And Bob hangs out with him. And it's just like incredibly strange. And I have a whole page of like a comedy bit on it, by the way. It's like a Billy Mays ad I kind of do. It's silly. But for like thought form wives, you can buy it. It's like I do a Billy Mays style ad. It's my book is insane. So then he says, he talks about the guides in this place, because even though you're in your personal dream world where anything can happen, a simulation, admittedly so, there's still guides there always. It's weird, but they present themselves in sillier forms for various reasons. He says the guidance that may be requested according to our participants in many different forms. It may appear externally or sensed internally. It may be constant throughout all the experiences or may change from time to time. Reports include mention of a glowing white shape, an individual called Sam, a hooded figure who revealed himself as a famous film star, a little dog, the color blue, a human hand, voices saying, "We are here." Some participants do not see guidance as separate from themselves in any way. Guidance and I are one, as one report says. Now, this sounds silly, but they're in the admitted simulation realm again, not in the real astral, right? So they're making the guides are showing up in silly, goofy forms, showing their shape-shifting abilities, but in the real astral, they're going to be normal and light beings or have a human form or something, so that they're reminding you, this is the dream world, you can get silly in here, and everything else is real. They're trying to make sure you know they're different, because they're showing their cards too much with the simulation ability, admitting, but they have to do it to really manipulate people and deceive them. So since they're showing their hands, they're trying to remind you, this is different. Your lucidity is going to be dimmed in the simulations, but this simulation, their lucidity is not messed with. So it's like they're doing it at different times strategically when it makes sense. Even though they are always there, even when you're alone, they're always there, and they want you to remind you that. So they scare you by saying these people went insane because they didn't have guides with them. So don't leave us, because we're never going to leave you. Common theme, because they're facilitating it, is my whole point here. Now, when we get into the stories of like what's happening, what are these theatrical deceptions they're playing off, there's some insights to take away from this, because in Bob's work, there's a few things in a row I'm going to talk about, and one is, I think is in his second book, I think, he's talking to his guide, and this is on page 150, 151, and his Godhead, his higher self, is talking to him saying, hey, you're Neo, you're the chosen one, okay? We got a special mission for you. You got to do this. And it's funny because they also add on, yeah, you're the chosen one, but you're also sharing a soul, split it with someone else who's on Earth right now, alive right now, and it's in a woman. And in case you fail, she's our backup plan. But just putting it out there. But we want you to do it. They're like, we like you more. But just in case you fail, she's gonna do it. I find that funny because you have the twin soul thing, like sharing a soul with someone alive right now is something totally denied by ancient Eastern, like Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism teachings of reincarnation. All of those teachings which came from astral travel and channeled information from entities. But in the future, they want to get goofier with their lore, so they expand it, and they say, no, now you can share a soul with people, and there's all these channeled books that talk about it from the same types of entities. But they're just giving different people different lore, but they don't align. Even Theosophy, Helena Blavatsky's, says that this is denied. They say you can't do that. So it's like, well, if Bob Monroe is sharing a soul with someone, he's dealing with a demon. And so is everybody else, but it's just like more lies, more incompatibilities. Let's see. So his Godhead is saying, you're sharing a soul, but you're going to do this. And this mission we want you to do is essentially to find a new home planet, a new dimension, a new galaxy, whatever. Astral travel, look around and find a new place for us to incarnate. Because we're done with Earth. We've evolved. We want to just try it somewhere else. Okay? But why can't they do that, first of all? Because they're already outside of time and able to astral travel anywhere and take you anywhere. Why can't they do it? Very strange they're asking you to do it. Don't know why it's necessary. They don't really say. But he gets nervous. He's like, this is a lot of pressure on my feeble astral shoulders. He doesn't like it. He gets a little bit uncomfortable. And they're trying to calm him down because they're like, oh, shoot, we scared him off. So they're trying to calm him down, and they do a good job. They say, we can help you with that. We can show you a sample of the support you have in here in our own cluster. Do you wish to see this? Bob goes, please, ... And then he describes this kind of loosely, like visionary experience. It's not like, just hear me out. He goes, this is his description of what they show him in a vision. Thousands of hands reaching out to touch me, eyes staring at me with joy and hope, overwhelming radiance I know is love sweeping over into every part of my being. All of these I am, we are, and emotion from the bittersweet smell of success to the pain of parting mixed with the fun of laughter, the anger of ignorance, the blindness of belief without foundation, the beauty, the sound of singing voices. His Godhead says, does that help you? He goes, it does. Is there more? Like, think about what's happening here. He's in the astral. They're trying to get him to do this job. He's like, I'm good. That's crazy. And they give him the sweet juice of love in his feelings and give him a vision of all of his other selves from other past lives in a hive mind who are all looking at him like he's Michael Jackson at a concert, and all these girls are taking their tops off. And they're like, we love you. And they're like giving him love energy. And they're saying, you're going to do great. Keep going. And it's like, that's the vision he's getting. And I'm paraphrasing it to be funny, but like that's what he's getting. And it's supposed to be wholesome, but it's incredibly manipulative and creepy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it is a weird way to go about convincing someone to do a task for you, but he loves it and he feels good. So feeling good means it's positive. Okay. That's the takeaway here. Wisdom out the window. Not long after this, on the same page at the bottom, I call the section Bob Has Defeated God. A joke of a title here, but you'll see what I mean.
Before that, you have C penis is Bob. I want to get to that section.
C penis is Bob. Okay, remember earlier, guys, when I said that he calls his guide before he calls his guide, which he later finds out is his higher self. Before he knows it's his higher self, he calls him Inspec, INSPEC, which means intelligent species. It's his little word for it, made up. If you anagram Inspec, you can make C penis. So I just decided to use that name for him in my book because I'm a goofball and it's funny. And if you don't like it, don't buy the book. But so I call him C penis halfway through the book. So
guys, don't judge him. He's from northern Florida, so
it does a lot to your brain. I'm a Florida man. Okay, that's what happens to you.
Alligators everywhere.
You watch all the Always Sunny and you get retarded really quick. Okay, it's not my fault. I'm a victim. Okay, so C penis is Bob. We find that out here, and then after that section, Bob is roaming around the astral, okay, as he usually does, and he's alone, as he seems to be, because no one's around him at the moment. All of a sudden, and this is when he's looking for this new homeworld, so he's out in the middle of space, it seems, and out of nowhere, he's frozen in place in the astral, can't move. It's like sleep paralysis, but he's in an astral experience. So he then hears a voice in his head, which he describes as cold and admonitory, okay, this is what it says. It says, this voice in his head who froze him says, I am the Lord thy God whom you serve. Now, pause. That's obviously Yahweh, because who else says thy? He speaks King James Version. We know that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's obviously Yahweh. So then he says, just like the last one, he's explaining this in kind of a loose way. He says, this is the vision God apparently is giving him. He says, a feeling of intense pressure as if I'm dissolving. Now I'm in water. My lungs are full of water. I must have air. Get rid of the water. No, it can't be. It isn't so. There is no water. I have no lungs. I'm being made to think that's where I am. It's an influence. I know it's not so. The pressure releases. I can feel fingers of energy probing for the core of me. I can stop this. Close the receptors. Close tight. I remember how. And then God says, you do not remember. You do not remember. He's yelling at him. Kind of pathetic, God. It's chill. And then he says, but I do. I remember the tests. They were so real. I'm ready for this demanding energy. It cannot harm me. But what's this? What God can this be? It cannot harm or affect me. I mean, it just put you in astral headlock and made you think you were drowning. What do you mean he can't affect you? Weird. Then God says, do you not accept me as your God? The idea of a God that threatens amuses me. I let this idea flow out. Do you not fear me? Total Yahweh move. This is obviously the guy, right? And then he says, I release a picture of me blowing apart again and again to a million fragments and reconstituting after every explosion. Gay. And then God says, you are damned. You are no more than wasted energy of me who is your Lord. The energy fades to a tiny point and vanishes. Okay, wait a minute. Break this down. So God of the demiurge, who this is implied to be, and Yahweh, they're trying to, with the whole King James language, of course, because who else talks like that? And he's saying, do you not fear me? You know, using words from the Bible and twisting them just a little bit. But he's also being kind of pathetic and kind of lame. And even if he is the demiurge and evil, he's very intelligent, obviously, to create our material realm, as the Gnostics say, right? So why is he so pathetic? And why does Bob's mental fart he throws at him of him exploding in his mind, why does that cause God to vanish and go away? If it's a simulation and this is a fake God claiming to be God, it's a bad press campaign. It's propaganda to make you hate Yahweh, hate the demiurge, and then also make you think you're powerful enough to get rid of him with your own psychic abilities, that you're like God. You're better than God, actually. It is the ultimate pride, like trying to embed you into this pride, into this personal power, and it's also making you hate God of the Bible, which is heavily, heavily, heavily implied to be. But it's not the only time they do that. There's like 4 examples that I have in my book about this alone, and this is just one of them. There's another one, which is even crazier. It's actually crazier than that one. And it's on page 121. And this is probably one of the more silly examples. I call this section temporary mass lobotomization, all hail the king. Because I can do what I want. Write your own book, okay, if you don't like it. So this section is really crazy, and I want to say to people before they listen, this is another experience Bob had that he says happened many times, implied at least half a dozen or so. He says this has happened multiple times in the astral in many decades, and I've not heard any other astral traveler or any story anywhere talk about this specific encounter ever. But he's had it multiple times. This is, again, if it's fake, they're catering to something he's willing to believe, but it's so out there, so crazy, most people probably won't buy it. So I'm saying Bob's more retarded than average people, and they can get away with more with him. So I think that's what's going on here. So he says, at times in visiting Locale 2, which is his name for the Astral Realm, a very unusual event periodically occurs. It makes no difference where in Locale 2, the event is the same. In the midst of normal activity, there's a distant signal, almost like heraldic trumpets. Everyone takes the signal calmly, and with it, everyone stops speaking, or whatever he or she may do whatever he may be doing is a signal that he or they is coming through his kingdom. There is no awestruck prostration or falling down on one's knees. Rather, the attitude is most matter of fact. It is an occurrence to which all are accustomed to, and to comply takes absolute precedence over everything. There are no exceptions. At the signal, each living thing lies down. My impression is on their backs, bodies arched to expose the abdomen, not the genitals, with the head turned to one side so that one does not see him as he passes by. The purpose seems to be to form a living road over to which he can travel. I have gleaned the idea that occasionally he will select someone from this living bridge, and that person is never seen or heard from again. The purpose of the abdominal exposure is an expression of faith and complete submissiveness, the abdomen being the most vulnerable part of the body, or the area that can suffer the most damage the most easily. No, that's my balls. There is no movement, not even thought, as he passes by, and the several times I've experienced this, I laid down with the others. At the time, the thought of doing otherwise was inconceivable. As he passes, there is a roaring musical sound and a feeling of radiant, irresistible living force of ultimate power that peaks overhead and fades in the distance. After his passing, everyone gets up and resumes their activities. There is no comment or mention of the incident, no further thought of it. There is a complete acceptance of the event as a normal part of their lives. Is this God, or God's son, or his representative? Those are his thoughts that may or may not be implanted. Now, that is a goofy-ass evil thing that they're trying to paint as God doing. That he needs to travel around the universe by getting a living bridge of entities in the astral or physical astral realms, whatever it may be. I don't think that's logistically the best way to travel around, but it is a power move. And they're trying to make Yahweh look like the biggest douchebag in the universe, which I do not subscribe to. But it's so goofy and so unrealistic. And nobody else talks about this, that it just is another example of them trying to make him hate God via making a silly simulation where all these impressions are so powerful. I could feel the power from this entity as he passes by. Everything is impression. They're feeding him these impressions, and they control it acutely and very tight. If they can do that, everything else I'm talking about later seems a lot more easy. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions so far, but that's just another example of how they're trying to make God look, like a dick, and I don't like it.
Yeah, but to be fair, Old Testament God, not Jesus at this point.
Well, technically, if you're a Christian, you believe that it's the same entity ultimately, or try it Trinity. So, but yes, it is referring to Yahweh, and they also do separate them. This is Gnostic lore. The Gnostic lore pushes Jesus was legit, not legit. This Son of God or the incarnation of God. No, he's an ascended master, which anybody can be one. It's hard, yeah, but Muhammad was one. There was Buddha. There's all these different prophets. They were all just like Jesus. Jesus got really popular, but he taught reincarnation, and he was studied. He studied under other people, and he didn't know everything. And they basically deny the Bible. And the thing is, if you're a Christian and you know the Bible, you know that it says, it essentially says that if you don't believe in what Jesus did on the cross and died for your soul, died for your sins, and you don't believe that he is Yahweh, if you don't believe he is the Father, then you are not technically saved. That is a stipulation.
What is it said?
I don't have the verse memorized. There is like 2 verses, one in John. God, is it John 8? I don't want to sound like I'm making things up, but there is verses that say or heavily imply that if you don't believe what he did for you and that he is the Father, that I and the Father are one, I'm getting the words paraphrased, of course, then it doesn't count. It doesn't say it doesn't count, but it says it needs to be this way. This is important because the Gnostic lie is such a big deal. Yeah, please find that verse.
Is there a New Testament verse where it says that if you deny that Jesus is Father God, you're not saved?
I think there's one in John 8.
Or something similar to that. I would argue no, but I might be wrong.
Well, the thing is, if I'm right, that's bad for Gnostics who love Jesus but don't think he's the one or died for their sins or all that.
1 John 2, 22 to 23. Who is the liar but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? Okay, this is not the Father. This is the Antichrist, he who denies the Father and the Son. Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father.
Yeah, kind of.
No, two separate
Hold on.
beings. Matthew 10, 32 to 33. Everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. Okay. 2 Timothy 2:12. If we deny him, he also will deny us.
You have to have faith in the full thing he did, and it doesn't count if you don't.
Yeah, but the Bible does not say that Jesus is the Father. Never.
I think it's more than implied in many ways, and it's supposed to be. I have complex thoughts in this whole thing. It is a touchy conversation.
So I'm the type of Christian that believes that the God from the Old Testament is not the same God that the God from the New Testament.
Oh, you don't subscribe to that, really? So do you believe the demiurge thing?
I'm leaning more towards that the Old Testament is very corrupted.
Okay.
By people.
Okay, so if I said to you,
I'm not a Gnostic.
Well, that is a Gnostic idea, but I'm
part of it.
Okay, hear me out. Okay, so I have something to throw on you then, I guess, that I have kind of prepared in my mind. I think that the Bible, the KJV, which I'm not saying the KJV is perfect in the sense that I know that there are single word translations that are poorly done. And when you're translating a language to another language, it's never going to fully get the full meaning sometimes. That's just, no matter what you do, it's going to be imperfect, especially from these much more older languages. Now, I believe the KJV in its form is divinely guided. I think every single word of the Bible is divinely written by the Holy Spirit through men, every little word. And there's evidence for this, which I actually will tell you because I never talk about this and it's actually very important. It's in my book. So there's proof of this. And this is proof, in my opinion, you can do your own research. Don't just believe me that I'm saying it confidently, but that every word of the Bible is matching, like not matching, but is connected. And not only is Jesus' name Yahweh saves or Yahweh is salvation, that's what his name translates to, which is a weird connection if it's not the guy. Not saying that alone is proof at all, but there are codes in the KJV only, which has been documented and proven. And you can say, oh, you're just making that up, but look into it later. I'll send you resources if you want. That the KJV, the most available form of the Bible of all time, is divinely inspired in this proof. So these are called, you could say, Bible codes. The page Truth is Christ on YouTube is who compiles a lot of these. He didn't discover all of them himself, but he breaks down with hours of material how computers and man verify these codes and what the implications are. There's a lot. I have a lot memorized. Let's see if I can remember all these off the top of my head. One example, the entire word count of the KJV only, all these codes apply mostly to the KJV and some to all versions because of the way they are, but some of them are so specific, it's only in the most printed book of all time that is most available, which God is, if God could not protect his word and divinely inspire it and get it to where he wanted to people, and also leave old surviving texts to hermeneutically translate certain words better, which, by the way, is he left those alive and to do the deeper research. But most of it, the canon, the 66 books, I think is canon from God. And if he didn't do that and he can't do that,
Catholics and Orthodox disagree.
I disagree with them.
Okay. It doesn't make you right and them wrong.
No, but this is my opinion. I'm going to be passionate here, but I'm going to give you my evidence that I think, and this is off the top of my head, but it should be right. I actually, if you want to check my math at calculator, please do so, but don't feel the need. So there's many of these. One code that's really impressive is the Elton anomaly. The Elton anomaly shows they counted the book with computers and man's hand, verifying it. It is 823,543 words exactly, counting all the numbers. That seems like an empty number. Now, I'm going to just pull it out just so you can see. If you do 7 times 7, okay, you get 49. Correct. That's 7 to the, is that first power or second power? Second power? Second power. So 7 to the third power at 343. Fourth power, 2401. Fifth power, 16807. Sixth power, 117,649. And 7 to the seventh power, 7 times 7 times, is 823,543. That's the exact number of words in the KJV only, okay? The most available form to most people who've ever existed, because most people were born in the last 250 years with the population explosion since the Industrial Revolution. Most people that ever exist are having access to the full canon of the Bible, and the people before that still had about 95% of it access. So God knew this would happen, and I think that that's one code. I'll give you a couple more.
What does it have to do with this number?
Well, okay, so in the Bible, hear me out. In the Bible, there's constantly numbers used, and I have a whole list here. I'm just going to make sure I don't forget them. Like, okay, 40. 40 means like testing, and 40 years of the Israelites after the Exodus before the Promised Land. 40 is how many days Jesus fasted in the desert. 40 is the number of days Goliath tested or taunted the Israelites. 40 is
Jonah been in the stomach of
well, he was in the whale for like 3 or 3.5 days, right?
Oh, 3 days, correct.
But that wasn't 40. But other examples, 40, Moses was on Mount Sinai 40 days when receiving the 10 Commandments with no eating or drinking. 40 days, Christ appeared 40 days after the resurrection. Let's see, the floodwaters came, the flood, 40 days of rain. And there's, I have like 20 of these in here. There's so many in here. I'm not going to read them all. There's literally a whole page of just 40 in the Bible. 7, the same thing. It constantly is a repeating number. It's not a big a number like 40, so it's less impressive to people, but it's constantly symbolically used as a term for perfection, completeness, and divinity. It's like used for these symbolic things. 40 is testing, 12 is governmental status, and I have a whole page of like, these are times when 12 is used, this is times when 40 are used. I have a whole bunch of material in the Bible.
Okay, but can you remind me who were those people? The council consisted of who that decided the canon will have only 66 books and then the 73 for
Who
Catholic?
did it, like in 1611?
Who elected those people? Why did they make this decision? Who were they? Who gave?
I'm not saying they're all perfect people, and I'm not saying King James was a great man.
He wrote a book about demonology, so he knew a lot of demons.
I'm not doubting that. And I'm not saying some single word translations like ecclesia to church and the way they've maneuvered that word wasn't maybe deceptively done. But either way, there is more, and I'm going to get into more numbers if you don't mind. I'll do a few minutes of that, or just a minute of that. But there's so many patterns or codes in the Bible that are interlocking with each other only in most of them in one specific version, the King James Version, that it seems like God's divine handprint showing he can effortlessly is in control, ultimate sovereignty of everything. And this would be connecting the Old Testament to the New Testament. So if you want to say they're not connected in Jesus and God, well, why?
No, Jesus is God, 100%.
Okay, but you think Yahweh is not that guy?
Yes.
Well, then that's a Gnostic belief, and I'm not arguing with you, bro. It's all love, but I'm just letting you know that is a Gnostic belief, and that Gnostic belief comes from this astral lore and channeled information. So it is what they want you to believe in their demons. So that's just keep that in mind.
I am saying that Yahweh is not the father of Jesus, and when Jesus mentions his father, he does not mention Yahweh, and especially when he says, you're not, when he says, speaks to Pharisees, he says that his father is not their father.
Yeah, but the Pharisees they're saying he says your father is the devil, right?
Correct.
But that's what Gnostics bring up all the time. They say that means that they're saying their father, Yahweh, is the devil. And they're like, see, Jesus is the opposite. First of all, Jesus' names mean Yahweh saves. It's just a little weird if he's attacking him. It's just funny.
Jesus' name is what?
Jesus' name translates to Yahweh is salvation or Yahweh saves, hermeneutically.
From what language?
From the original, Hebrew, right?
Yeshua. His original name.
If you would like to look it up, please do.
Yeah, his original, Jesus' original name in Aramaic, right? They spoke Aramaic back in the Jesus times. Yeshua. Let's do meaning.
Yahweh is salvation. I mean, this is the internet, so I don't trust it either. But
Yahweh is salvation.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay.
It's a little
okay. I did not know that.
That's one more flat example. Now, what was I saying? I was saying something about. Okay, so he says to the Pharisees, "Your father is the devil." So then, on the surface level, that sounds like, oh, he's calling Yahweh the devil. No, he's literally saying you're not in line with the Father. You're all about the rules, the Torah.
My father.
He says you not in your heart. He says, yeah, you follow the rules, you study the law, but he's literally saying exactly what I'm saying. He's saying, no, you're not following my Father, which is Yahweh, which I know he doesn't say word for word, and I think that's intentional to allow this whole interpretation to take place, which that people don't understand that, but this is a test. We are not supposed to be given all the answers. This is intentionally, I think, allowed to be misconstrued intentionally. He does say my Father, and people are like, well, who's that? It is heavily implied in many ways in the Bible, I think, Yahweh. And what I'm going to show you more codes because I want to try to get through to you here a little bit, and you can research them later. But these codes are showing the connection from every word of the Bible to every word in the Bible. And to believe that God and Yahweh is not Jesus, you would have to believe the Bible is heavily manipulated by man, which also means if there is a true God who is Jesus and it's not Yahweh, he's not powerful enough to not disrupt his word. And if he's not powerful enough to keep his word together for the people, guess what? That God is not only less powerful than he claims to be, but also you are worshiping someone who is bested by men, and he's not going to be bested by men. Now let me just prove you wrong. No, I'm trying to prove you wrong, but let me prove my point a little bit more with the codes. You can go ahead though.
Yeah, you said that God would never let the Bible get corrupted.
Not misinterpreted, but I mean, I'm not saying not corrupted. People will corrupt it, and it says in the Bible, in Revelation, the end of it, like whoever will change or add or take away from this will be damned. Yes. I'm saying he left one prime full version together, and he left surviving text, extra biblical stuff, which some is trustworthy, some is not. And then he left the original Septuagint and Masoretic text around so we can hermeneutically study them. He left everything we need, but he didn't. But with translations and changes and whatever's people influence, he made the perfect version of it that he possibly could with the KJV, in my opinion. And yes, there's flaws with it, and that has to do with interpretations of single words. But the structure is divinely controlled, and I'm going to give you a few more examples. The Elton anomaly, the 7 times to the 7th power is exactly how many words are in the Bible. The odds of that being a coincidence and be that symbolic number for divine perfection and completeness is insane alone, but that's just one. I have more and they interlock. So keep in mind, these are interlocking in one book, okay? I'm not done. There is also, so I said in 823, 543, that's the whole Bible, right? Old Testament only, 634,555 words, okay? Remember 555. And then the New Testament has 188,983 total words, okay? That's, now remember 983, the last 3.
Of KJV, Bible.
Do Old Testament and New Testament.
And OT.
Now there's a few different versions which might have a few different words off, but overall that's the main one. It's, see if I got that number right, 634,555.
Old Testament, approximately.
Bro, what do you, no, hold on. This is some AI bullshit. Hold on.
Give me the exact numbers.
See, you're doing the AI thing, and it's like
Let's do Google.
I don't trust it.
Let's do Google too.
Oh God, you got to.
Okay, let's do Google. Says Old Testament. You see?
No, I look like an asshole right now, but I'm here. Okay, look up. Now, hold on. Look up a certain version. Hold on.
Give me the number. What was the number?
Hold on. It's the Concord. Look, Concord. Let me find it. See, now I'm looking like a total bitch. Did I delete the notes? I might have deleted the notes.
What was that number? 5?
What?
7 power 7. What was the number?
7 to the 7th power. No, the 823. So 823, 543.
823, 5.
43.
43
Wait,
is
yeah.
the number of words in KJV Bible. The exact number of words in the King James Version Bible is a subject of debate, which, while a literal text only consists as
I'm talking about including
789,
numbers.
which equals 7. Okay, you're right on this one.
It's just it's the way you look at it with numbers involved
Okay.
and all these things. So you're going to get a few different things, but I'm telling you, this is based off of a specific version, and it is interlocking codes in all of them. So I'm letting you know the interlocking codes cannot coexist and be coincidence in this certain version, which is the Concord something. Shoot, Truth is Christ on YouTube has all this information. And I found him very trustworthy. And I'm going to go through just a few codes, and if people can shit on me in the comments and verify or not my information later, please. But it's coming from a specific version, which is one of the main KJVs. I know there's a couple. So there's also, remember I said 634, 555 is words in the Old Testament. 188, 983 is Old Testament, right? 555, 983. Christ appears exactly 555 times in the entire Bible. Okay, so that's connecting the entire Bible. Jesus appears in the entire Bible 983 times. A weird little overlap there. Jesus Christ aligns with the last 3 numbers of in the thousands of these Old Testament, New Testament.
973.
Was it 973 or 983?
It says approximately. He doesn't know shit.
I'm going off of my memory, but I know this. There's probably some. You're gonna get. See, now it's giving you like these between these numbers. I'm telling you, dude.
King James Version 942 to 973. How come they don't know the exact number?
But that's what I'm telling you. You're going on Google, bro. I'm just letting you know. You trust me or not. I'm saying I got this information from other people that I've studied, and I'm going off of memory as well. But you're getting all these different numbers, and I'm telling you, like.
I just didn't tell you that I'm not a strong believer. I'm a rookie believer in Satan's little season. I'm post-millennial.
I just hung out with Brian all week. I know. And I love these people, man. I don't subscribe to it personally. I'm going to look into it. I said I'd do more homework. I've looked into it. I've looked into debunks. I've looked into debunks of the debunks. I align heavily with premillennialism. I think we got not long at all before a great tribulation personally, but I don't buy into the 7-year thing. I think it's, yes, 7 years of tribulation like the Bible says, but most people believe that. That's the problem. It's going to throw people off because if you watch Messiah 2030 presentation, probably the most important video I've ever seen in my life, 6 hours, you got to watch and be a nerd, sorry. They prove that, Daniel 9:27 is not referring to the Antichrist, but Jesus, and hermeneutically, and they believe that the Great Tribulation is 3.5 years. The first 3.5 were fulfilled in Jesus' era, 2,000 years ago, which his 2,000-year anniversary after crucifixion is in 4 years.
More.
Well, he died in 2030 according to this presentation, or no, in 30 AD according to this presentation,
Okay.
and they think he's coming back in 2,000 years exactly on the dot after that. Well, not by the month, but by the year. And I agree with that, but I'm also a crazy person. What do I know? People say you won't know the day or the hour, but if you look hermeneutically into what they were talking about and who they were talking about, they're not talking to us in the future. They're talking to their people of their time. And they do a whole 30-minute breakdown on that one verse and show how hermeneutically we're actually supposed to know the time, at least the season, if you're really watching, because I give you so many signs in the Bible of these times. So I'm a premillennialist. I think it's soon. I think the kingdom's still to come. I've seen the little season stuff. It has not convinced me, but there's good arguments I've heard, structured, but I've heard debunks that are very convincing as well. I don't know. I'll eat my mud pie if I'm wrong, but the Messiah 2030 presentation, if anybody watches that and doesn't shit their britches instantly,
Messiah 2030.
it is the most powerful thing you'll ever watch. Even if the dates are wrong, because I know they're date setting and people hate that, and I hate it too.
That's
Guess
a video?
what? It's 6 hours. Watch the whole thing. Now, even if it's wrong, the prophetic breakdown of dates and the coding in the Bible, which is also more evidence of what I'm talking about here with the Bible codes, if it is not if it does not blow your mind about the power of God and how he's in control of everything ultimately, then we can't be friends, okay? I'm just going to say it. If you don't think this is the most mind-blowing thing you've ever seen. You got to watch all 6 hours, though. Do his homework. It's all math, and it's Bible math and scripture. It's all scripture.
Who did this?
A group of like a dozen people for 9 years. It is the most powerful thing I've ever watched. And also hydroplate theory. Those are my favorite content ever.
Hydroplate?
Brian Nichols, hydroplate theory. I'm trying to get it normalized. It's younger theory, science, and it's very, very good science and explains everything in a biblical context. That second video right there, 2 hours, 40 minutes. Coolest thing you'll ever watch if you're a nerd and have the attention span. Yeah.
So if you're a nerd, if you're a virgin, don't have any girlfriend?
I was actually an ex-ho back in the day when I was possessed by demons, and I had a lot of crazy stories. But now I'm clean for like a year of celibacy almost. Go me. But I'm looking for wifey, but not at all like looking. Like I'm just like, if God plans something, I'm kind of busy with work and being a schizo on the internet, which scares women off at the same time. So it's kind of great. I mean, you're hearing me talk. It's hard to talk to girls right now. That's how weird I'm getting. So. You know what I'm saying?
I'm surprised that you're not a virgin anymore, sir.
Oh, I'm far from it, brother. But you know, if a cleansing has anything to say about it, I guess I am again. But I don't know if I buy into that. But yeah, man, it's just I do want to share a few more codes. I want people to check this out later, and I gave you some homework to do if you want. But those are some of those powerful things I've ever seen, and I think this code evidence, which is in a specific version, I know, and the internet I think is going to give you some bullshit.
Yeah, but this is basically a little bit of a cherry picking. You said this number and this number is the last 3 numbers digits.
No, I know it sounds a certain way,
but
it's
cherry picking.
No, it is. I'm just saying I'm combining it with multiple codes, which you can verify or false or true later. But I'm saying that one is a little bit more of a stretch, I suppose, sounding. But I'll give you some that are more solid sounding, that are really crazy, and you can verify.
Okay.
You have Matthew 12:4, right? That is Jesus whenever he's being accosted by the Pharisees for him and his apostles picking corn on the Sabbath, and they're getting on to him, and he's using a verse. He quotes the Old Testament. The New Testament quotes the Old Testament over 315 times at least. Okay, that's another sign they're connected. Okay.
Yeah, but does it mean that the
I know,
Old Testament is not corrupted?
I know, but it is a connection. Okay, he's quoting 1 Samuel 21:6 in Matthew 12:4. Okay, that's an Old Testament verse with King David. The verse is about King David eating the showbread that was reserved for the priests, and which he wasn't supposed to do. He's quoting that and making a whole excuse for it to the Pharisees. And it just so happens, and you can verify it. I don't know if the internet will tell you it or if I'll look like an asshole again, but whatever. People can check it out later. That verse, 1 Samuel 21:6, is the 7,777th verse in the Bible, okay? Out of 31,102, which is a whole other code conversation we'll get into, maybe. But out of that, he's quoting the 777th verse in Matthew 12:4. Jesus Christ, the name, appears in Matthew 1, chapter 1. And 7,777 words after his name appears in Matthew 1:1, that many words later, he is saying that verse in Matthew 12:4. He is saying it in the 7,777th word after his introduction. He is quoting the 7,777th verse of the Bible, showing again some crazy wild coincidence, a divine connection. If that's true, that's one of dozens. There's dozens of these. I want to make sure I get a couple more just so I can say I did it, because I've always wanted to talk about this. I just want to I don't need to read it. I just need a reminder. Yeah. Okay. There is, where is it? Okay. This is crazy. This is a Old Testament to New Testament connection that's insane. And this is God, I think. Okay. You have the first word and last word of the first verse and last verse of the Bible, Genesis 1:1 and Revelation 22:21, the first and last word of those verses. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In and earth. Keep that in mind. Revelation 22:21, first and last word, the and amen. Okay? In is in the Bible, and I'm guessing, off of my memory from what I researched, 12,674 times. Earth is 985. The 64,041. Amen 77 times, which is its own pattern there, 77. Add up all those numbers, 12,674, 985, 64,041, and 77. You get 77,777. The first and last word of the first and last verse. That is showing a begin to end connection if it is a real number, if it is really happening, that is showing divine hand, not only orchestrating all events of these biblical narratives and actual historical facts, but also showing the Bible, God allowed and used the Holy Spirit. He ain't gonna let men mess up his word. Guess what? If he lets men mess up his word too much to where we can't get enough of the truth of the Gospels, guess what? He cannot banish anybody to hell, because then we're not getting the truth anyway, and it doesn't count. It is not fair. And if it's not fair, which it is, but if it's not fair and these people are right and it's not divinely protected, then guess what? This whole test is pointless because it's not fair.
Bro, I'm gonna disperse your claim now.
Go for it.
This is English language only.
And I understand what you're saying, but
In Chinese,
God is outside of time.
Lithuanian, French.
This is the most influential
German.
language. This is the evil magic tongue that's been etymologically, I know, morphed into some, it's witchcraft, our language. I understand that. It is the most influential language of the most influential modern world, like America. This is the Babylon 2.0 that, ultimately English speakers have the most control and influence, okay?
But what KGB was translated in 16th century, is that correct?
1611.
English language was not the biggest language on planet Earth.
God knew it would be. He's outside time. He's doing this from the future. He knew we would not find these codes until we had computers, because we can't do it without computer. We can do it by hand, but I'm saying most of these elaborate ones require computers, and then they said, oh, the computers are telling us this. Let's count it by hand. I'm telling you, God's outside of time. He knows where the future is going to be before the end. He says that in the Bible. Okay, so you got to understand, he knew where it was going to be. He knew what was going to be the most influential. He's guiding around that. I know you're like, oh, it's English. It wasn't written back then in English. He knows where it will go, okay? So that argument, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's a little bit outside of it. I'll just give you a couple more, just because it's fun. And also, verily I say unto you, unto thee, Jesus' catchphrase in the New Testament is said 77 times exactly, the same amount as amen, okay? Just weird. Genesis 1, the first Old Testament chapter, God's speech, Yahweh's speech, equals 343 words exactly. That is 7 times 7 times 7. That's first book of the Old Testament. First book of the New Testament, Matthew 1, you have the angel of the Lord says 49 exact words. 7 times 7. It's a weird little overlap of this something that's effortless for God. This math seems so intricate. He's like, oh, he's guiding around the whole humanity around these stupid numbers. No. He's doing everything and mixing these in because it's effortless, and he's God of the universe. He created everything. This is nothing for him. But he's leaving these codes as evidence for us so we can find them in the end times, or in the times where we have technology and increase of knowledge, and it'll verify God. But if you don't have eyes to see and ears to hear, you're going to go, oh, that's stupid. But these interlocking things in one specific version of the Bible, which is the canon, which is the KJV, and some of these are around and still the other versions, but some of them are not. But all of these are in one specific Bible, which Truth is Christ page, I forgot his name, shows all of these. There's so many more of these, dude, and they interlock. And now you looked them up, and now I look like an asshole because it looks like I'm lying because the AI told you other numbers. But you got to remember, it's one specific version we weren't looking into, and it's the internet giving you, all people say this is how many numbers, this is how many. I'm saying research it yourself and check into look into the evidence the guy presents on his page. He is showing it very clearly. I'm not going to be able to do that here. I'm just letting you know there is so many more of these, and I explained to you the simpler ones. There are elaborate, more hard to explain ones, and this is evidence to me of God's sovereign nature. And I absolutely believe, Yahweh is Jesus. That's my thing. That's a lot of people saying. I feel where you're coming from. I was on your side, and people go, oh, what about all the evil stuff God did in the Old Testament? We're not going to break that all down here right now, but I'm just letting you know I thought the same things a lot of people do. Once you understand, and I know you understand the Nephilim seed war and stuff more than a handful of people, I'm sure. Once you really understand that stuff and what that really means and the ramifications and how many people were Nephilim and fallen angel tribes, and you hear God asking the Israelites to kill all these tribes and take out everybody, once you understand the Nephilim seed war and the implications of it and what's happening today with the aliens and how it's the same thing repeated, I'm just saying, dude, I think it's all justified, and I don't question God like I used to, because I used to look for lies in the Bible, and the more I tried to understand the truth of the context of it, the more I went, oh my God, every time I try to prove God wrong, I look like an asshole. I totally, it just requires, I'm not saying you don't have wisdom, but the more wisdom I gained, or at least believed I've been gaining, the more I'm like, no, as a fatherly kind of big picture view of the evil versus good, the lack of apathy that's really truly able to exist. I was like, you're on God's side or you're not. And for him not to be connected to Jesus, besides the math I'm presenting here, just all the things philosophically involved, he is the same guy, but he's leaving room for interpretation otherwise, because this is the test. This is the test. So if the Bible says, I am God, I am Yahweh, and he tells you clearly, you would say, well, that's what you would do if you're God. No. He needs to make it a test. He needs to leave it somewhat ambiguous. Interpretations for all these things. He's outside his time. He knew he would interpret hell as literal for eternal conscious torture, or we can read the Bible, the same Bible, and take away annihilationism, or we can read the Bible and take away universal salvation or universalism. And I have, my own complex thoughts on that. But you can read all these things, and he doesn't want you to know the exact truth. He doesn't want you to even focus on these things. He wants you to focus on loving others and being and following commandments, but not. He's more obsessed with getting your heart than he is about your behavioral modification. You can be a piece of shit, and as long as your heart's truly on God, I think that's what he's more concerned about. And I think the law and following good and not sinning is a fruit of that. And I think Yahweh's philosophy and the things he teaches, you go, oh, why the Torah and why would Jesus fulfill the law and change things? Different strokes for different folks, different time periods with different access to technology and different cultures require different, not necessarily laws, but like require different treatment because things change with our culture, and he adjusts to us, but still keeps it just. He has different laws for different time periods because we have totally different mechanics and ways to survive, and our survival affects the way we run things. I'm ranting like crazy, but
Okay.
I hope I'm making sense.
Okay, let's not go into why did Yahweh told to
I just had to stand up for my guy,
to kill off the whole part of the population, etc. Let's not stick to that argument.
Yeah, I'm done.
Why slavery is being promoted?
Okay,
The Old
that's a great one.
Testament.
That's a great one. Okay, I want to touch that one because that's one everybody brings up. If you look into the
And
context,
in the New Testament as well.
yeah,
In the epistles it says, love your master. It does not say that you should be free.
I hear what you're saying. Are you open to a more nuanced layer of this? Because I'm not justifying it. Jesus and God is not either. It's complicated. What he's doing here. Let me cook for a second.
A second.
Hit me.
It doesn't matter whether I believe Yahweh is the same God as the God in the Old Testament. It doesn't matter whether we believe in the Satan's little season or not. To me, Christ is King. Jesus
Okay.
is God. That's
Yeah.
it. This is not debatable.
I'm on your side, bro.
Okay, then cook.
Yeah, thank you, bro. No, we're good, man. I'm all about it. I just, I got to stand up for what I believe in. You know what I'm doing.
Slavery.
Okay, yeah, I don't believe in slavery. So the whole thing with that is when he's laying out the law for like how to treat your slaves and what to do with them, and like he says, if you knock their tooth out, which is a metaphor for really saying if you abuse them too hard in general, it's not literally just the tooth that applies here. It's saying generally speaking, if you abuse them too hard, you have to let them go. Okay, and I'm not saying, oh, well, that's a good rule, I guess. So I guess it's slavery.
Why didn't he say don't abuse?
No.
Just say because there's human beings.
Let me make my
Even
point.
their slaves.
I'm hear me out.
Okay.
He's not saying it's good and I support it. He's saying I don't want any of this to happen, but it is going to happen regardless of if I want it or not because you have free will and it will happen. You got to understand free will. It doesn't matter what God wants. They're going to create slaves. They're going to have a slave trade. It's going to happen. That's human nature while we live in a sinful free will world. It is going to happen. He's making these laws because he knows they will. He says he's all about, I don't want this, and I'm paraphrasing God's words in my own way, but I'm saying if you read the Bible honestly, and I'm not saying you're not doing it honestly, but it's easy to twist. He's saying these are rules. These are laws for if and when you do this to your slaves or what slaves. And guess what? The Sabbath, the Sabbath year is? And then there's the Jubilee year every 7 years. And I'm not saying this makes slavery okay. I'm saying he knows there will be slaves and he's making rules to make it better.
But he has 10 commandments. Include 11th one. Do not have any slaves.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying it's slavery back then. I'm not saying I lived back then and I can see the time travel of it, but I'm saying their slaves back then were not the same totally as the slaves we had in the Atlantic slave trade of the 1800s. And when I say that, let me hear me out.
Come on.
Hear me out. From what I understand, now I'm talking about the Israelites. I'm not talking about the other Nephilim tribes or whatever. They probably got a lot darker with it. I'm saying he knows there will be slaves. He's making rules around for when there are slaves and what to do. We have laws about all sorts of things. We have laws like don't rape, don't kill, don't do this. It doesn't mean we support them. It means, no, when it happens, we know it will happen. We have to have a law for when it does and what to do. That's what it is. It's a law for...
Yeah, but it's forbidden to rape, steal, or kill.
Yes.
It's not forbidden in the Bible to have a slave.
Now, this is the indentured servant conversation where we're talking... And I'm not justifying. I'm just saying, like, Okay, hear me out. Indentured servants, okay, let me get into the Sabbath part first. Every 7 years, no matter what, in Israelite culture, you're supposed to release every indentured servant, which is what they preferred to call their slaves, because most people, I'm not saying slavery is good. It's a word that has all these connotations to it. But the slaves back then were more like they were in poverty. They didn't have any connections to family with wealth. They had to sell themselves to work for someone for years. And no matter what, after 6 years, you're done. No matter what. It can, not even every, no, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying back then, culture was way different. I know it sounds bad no matter what, and I'm not agreeing with it, but I'm saying people had to survive, and there was no other jobs they could get. They had to sell themselves to masters. And I'm not saying I'm supporting it. I'm saying that's how people survived.
But this is not true.
What do you mean?
If they had a slave male, and a slave had no wife, but the master provided the wife, and she had children, those children would have been always stayed with the master. So it's not every 6th or 7th year on the Jubilee they would let go.
They were supposed to.
But if the master provides a wife and his children, multiple, they stay with the master forever. Let's double check that.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't have that one in my noggin right now.
In Old Testament, it says if a person had a slave male and a master provided him a wife and had children, do children let go free, or they stay as slaves forever with the master? I might be wrong, but I believe.
I don't have it in my noggin. I don't want to say for sure.
Exodus 21:4. If his master gave him a wife and she bore him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. So
yeah,
it's not an
it sounds pretty bad. I know. Yeah.
It does not sound bad. It was bad.
I don't disagree with you. Now, I'm not saying that this is like God's failed. I'm not going to say God isn't justified in his actions. I'm saying this, in my opinion, I would frame this, and you could say whatever you want about it. I understand how it is controversial, is a framing of what is going to happen whenever you have a culture in a totally different time period with different resources and abilities to survive with no supply chains. And I know that sounds unrelated, but it's not, because these people, I don't think they had the means to survive and take care of their families unless they were indentured servants. And that's a nice way to say slaves. But I don't think all slaves were treated as the way we've portrayed the Black Atlantic slave trade, which, yes, of course, was monstrous and evil, and I'm not defending any of it. But I don't think their culture, Israelite culture, promoted some negative treatment, some beating of slaves. And I'm sure they did it. They know they're going to do it. They create laws for when they do it, not to allow certain things. And I know it all sounds bad, but I'm just keeping in mind their survival and the way they lived. Like I'm just saying, like, it's not the same thing as we live today.
We have a humiliation ritual as well. Listen, the male slave goes free after 6 years, up to Exodus 21:2, but the wife and children stay with the master. They remain his property, master's property. The man faces a choice: leave free, alone, or stay. The catch: if a man says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go free, then the master brings him to doorpost, pierces his ear with an awl, and he serves forever. This is a humiliation ritual, to get his ear pierced. And God cannot tell them, don't do that? Don't do this humiliation? How come?
No, I understand what you're saying.
That's it. So this is just one of many points that I do not agree with the Old Testament. And me being honest with myself, I cannot subscribe to the Old Testament as I subscribe not just to the New Testament. I'm the type of guy, I'm the red letters guy only. What Jesus said, I tried to find fault in his words many times, in his statements, his mindset, everything that he did and said. I couldn't find any.
Yeah, I understand.
So out of all the Bible, I only subscribe with my own heart, whole heart, only to the letters, not even to the epistles, because it promotes slavery too, and etc. Those were the people that wrote those letters, and they included this in the canon. But I subscribe to every single word of Jesus. That's where I'm at, being honest, right?
No, I can understand
lying
that.
to my audience or to you, but yeah, I believe it. No, honestly, I subscribe only to the letters, to the T.
No, I know, dude, I know your heart's in a very great place, and I respect that. I have no issue with that. I know, and listen, this type of stuff isn't my forte. It's research I've done in the past, and I have a general understanding of it. And my whole point, I guess, was it's laws set up because of things that are going to happen, like we have laws today for things. It's not that we support them. And I know that sounds a certain way, and if we had more context and the Septuagint pulled up right now and hermeneutically, it might be a little bit different than the English version in the way that it's portrayed, because I do think that's a factor here when you look at hermeneutics of it. But I'm not an expert on that exact verse and hermeneutically, so I'm not going to try to defend it. And I don't support obviously slavery or anything, but I do think the slaves that they had back then, the indentured servants you might call, depending on the way they're treated, is not the way we view slavery now. It's a little bit different. And they were freed every seventh year, and every seventh year, every super Sabbath, every Jubilee, every 50 years, there is a return of property to the original family members, so that every 50 years, no matter what, you are having generational generational property left to your family lane, so you don't have some lineage die out because of lack of wealth. Like there's these balancing of the scale so that there's no major elite system in their culture. And that's a rule I'm sure you would support that one in general. But I'm just saying, like, this is a different time period which had way different means of survival. And I think the indentured servant thing is nasty on paper, but because of the way they had to survive and the way their populations were growing and spreading out with very, maybe minimal resources for certain people, I think it was like I don't want to say necessary evil, but just like a symptom of the world we live in, which is a free will universe where survival is a big thing. And I'm not saying that specific verse is justified by my words here, but I want to look into the hermeneutics of it more and try to get more context and understand how it was in ancient Israelite times before I'm going to say, oh, God's stupid and evil. And I'm not saying you're saying that, you're not being a dick about it. I'm just saying, like, I have yet to, I'm not going to go against Yahweh. And I totally get your point of view. I'm passionate about supporting the entire Bible, and I don't know how to defend that one right now on air in the moment, but,
Do you think scumbags from the 18th, 19th century, the masters of slaves, the slave owners, do you think they would have justified them owning slaves too?
They could probably twist scripture and do that very easily, I'm sure.
No, not even touching the scripture.
Yeah.
Let's say a master in 19th century had 100 slaves. Do you think if you asked him back in the day, he would have justified his option?
Yeah.
You
have to yourself to be doing these things.
Of course.
And I'm not saying, and I'm not.
Every pedophile can justify himself.
Yeah.
I had these thoughts, intrusive thoughts. I have this and that. I was raped when I was a little kid, so I wanted to feel the. No, bro. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's
you touch a little kid, right?
Yeah. No,
you should have hung. That's it.
No, I'm on your side with that. I absolutely agree. I think, especially if you're a repeat customer to these types of things, you should be absolutely taken off the planet. I agree. But, not everybody finds that, people are like, oh, about forgiveness. What about the Christian thing of forgiveness? It's like, it's not that simple.
No.
They killed people in the Old Testament for quite a few crazy things that were not as bad as pedophilia. But you got to imagine, like, I don't know. I think that stuff's demonic. I think that's people who are doing that are so far off the bar. I'm not saying they can't recover and heal from that, but it's just that's maximum evil. That's maximum evil. Yeah,
you can't recover from pedophilia. That's it.
If
you touch the kid, that's it. You're done. Jesus said, millstone around your neck, to the bottom of the ocean, to the bottom of the lake. That's it, bro.
I'm for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Please continue cooking.
Yeah, bro. We got on some tangents. That was wild. I love it though.
I love it too.
I love these conversations.
Me too.
Yeah, man.
It's okay to disagree. I love it.
No, yeah. I mean, as long as you're not being an asshole about it. I know I'm more of an asshole than you. That's for sure. But I was pretty chill, I think. But yeah, man, I love it. And so yeah, man, we covered all these astral things, and there's a few more things. And then I want to get to the Bible stuff, I guess. But yeah, I guess before I do, I just want to say that we've already proven that they've admitted their simulation abilities in all these various areas that prove that they are controlling your thoughts. They can mess with your lucidity. They can mess with, transition you to different things, simulation, take away your autonomy, give more to you, move you around. You are a puppet completely, and you seem to not be aware of this, or only slightly aware, and think that all the influence that is had on you is for your best own good from entities that care about you. I'm trying to prove that that's not the case, very detailed wise. And before I get to the Bible stuff, I just want to go over a couple more things and say that on page 169, you have Leland I call this memory theft in the astral hot tub. And this is important because he says, a shade, which is his word for ghost, who's dead and in this healing center, which is a spa in the astral. This ghost is in a spa in the astral. And he says, a shade was seated by the side of the plunge. She was unaware of my presence, yet I had no trouble reading her thoughts. She was about to go back into the memories of a particular time in her life. Apparently, the function of the spa region was to give shades an opportunity to heal themselves by remembering a difficult event and figuring out why they occurred. Somehow, I accompanied the woman into her memories with which both of us experience as if they were happening right now for the first time. This is important because this woman ghost in the astral didn't see him, doesn't intend to pull him into her memories. He doesn't intend to go in there, but somehow she just pulled into her memories that she's reliving. A weird thing to just happen unless someone's controlling a simulation. And then he lives her memories like it's his own, and it's every full detailed experience of it and every thought, and he's transitioned to it, right? This seems like an entity pushing him into that and then giving him the story. So this is an example of someone reliving somebody else's past life memory, which is in parts 2, 3 material that I do. I cover extensively where these things are admitted constantly, where other people live, other people's past life memories, and past life therapists admit this happens. They'll say you got to exercise the spirit attachments first, and then you can trust your past life memories, because otherwise you'll get memories of your ghost attachments, as opposed to it's all a demonic deception. They still keep alive these concepts by having all these excuses. So that's just kind of a prequel to that material. On page 149, you have Bob's Godhead, his higher self, asking him for a favor. And it's a little weird. His Godhead is talking to him, and at first he's offering Bob psychic abilities, like more than he already has, more than the astral travel. They're like, do you want anything else, by the way? Like any like remote viewing or mediumship or any of that stuff? And he literally says, like, no, I think I'm good. Like, I'm pretty busy with the astral stuff as it is, which is, I kind of respect. He's not like, I'm trying to get all the power, all the cities, you know? And even though they're outside of time, this Godhead, and knows what he's going to do in advance, it seems, because they're from the future outside of time, they ask him first if he wants psychic abilities. He says no, and they go, we did not believe those were needed. Why'd you ask? And then they say, but if you do want one of us to use your body and talk while you go somewhere else, or talk while you go somewhere else, just relax and go to sleep. He goes, no, I don't want to be a channel. That's not a route to freedom as I see it, which is the nicest way to turn down a demon asking to possess you. He's not demonically possessed because you have to fully consent for that to happen. You can be demonized and heavily influenced and close to possessed with your guidance from these entities by just opening yourself up by divination and sin. But if you read books like Hostage to the Devil by Malachi Martin, which studies case studies of possession, everybody who is fully possessed, fully, and had a violent exorcism, every single one of them says, yeah, I knew I agreed to this at some level, internally or externally. Every single one. So you have to fully agree to get fully possessed, which he did not. But why did his higher self want to possess him? And it didn't even say why. It seems like a weird thing for a higher self to want to do. I don't see the point and why a highly evolved spiritual being would want to do that. It doesn't seem something I would trust. And that's kind of the end of my astral lore. I mean, I have a ton of stuff in the book, but just for my presentation today, that's what we're covering. And then I wanted to cycle into a few related subjects that I think are very important, and then get into the Bible stuff, and we can end it there probably for this part. But yeah, man, I have a whole chapter on dream infiltration, and I steal a little bit from Vicky Joy Anderson's work. Shout out Vicky, she's great. She has a concept that flows right into mine perfectly, and it's very important, and it's about sleep paralysis. And many people listening have experienced this, I'm sure. I've had it plenty of times, I know that. And her theory that I add my own spice to in a minute is basically that the sleep paralysis you experience, have you had that before?
Never.
Really? But you know about it. Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Okay.
You wake up, you can move.
You can't move, and then you can open your eyes and you can look around and you'll often see a shadow person.
But you got your thoughts, right? You can think.
Yeah.
And can you ask Jesus for help?
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard. Like sometimes you have to try really hard, and sometimes like you can't say it, or sometimes you can't think it because your mind is clouded. So I think they're influencing your mind here. But you can do it. It just is a range of difficult for certain people. I've ended them with calling out Jesus many times.
Yeah, this is the way you end it, right?
Yeah, or it can end just by taking time, but if you want to end it instantly, you call on Jesus, and boom, it'll happen. From all my experience and everything I've read, that seems to be the case. So we believe that this sleep paralysis and the entity you're seeing during it, I don't think your body is paralyzed. I think you're just asleep, and you have a dream room simulated to look just like your room. So when you open your eyes, you're opening your eyes to a dream room, and it looks pretty much the same, right? And then if you see an entity manifest, sometimes it's shadow people, Hat Man, sometimes it's gray aliens or reptilians or whatever. We believe it's all simulation, and coincides with my theory here. And we already know they can visit you in dreams because they said it. Their guides did that already in 1 or 2 examples I covevered already.
And shadow people are just silhouettes of human beings?
It's like blacker than black, like humanoid shapes that don't really have faces, it seems. And
are they 3-dimensional?
You know, so they're often described as like being like flat up against the wall, but sometimes, yeah, they can be three-dimensional, it seems. But they'll be so like black. People say it feels like they absorb light, kind of like a black hole. Like they're so dark. You know what I'm saying?
Super racist.
Very, yeah, yeah. I mean, this, their words, not mine. But yeah, man. And so we believe it's simulation based on a lot of reasons. But the main reason is she's had hundreds, if not thousands, of these sleep paralysis encounters in her life, like tons. And she's interviewed tons of people and gotten data from this. And in her own experience, she noticed this. But it's not just her. She's interviewed tons of people saying the same thing. After having enough experiences, you start paying more attention to your surroundings around you, right? And it gets less scary because you're used to it. So you might look around more and focus on what's around you. She would look around her room and notice while she's laying there, she can open her eyes, a window might be a few feet away from where it actually is. An object in your room will manifest that you don't own, or vice versa, missing, or furniture will be moved a few feet over. Slight differences. Everything else is mostly the same.
It's like in the Inception, this thing when he checks whether it's a dream or not.
It's like a sign.
Because only you know the weight or the exact way that your room is.
Like.
Something
like that. And, you know, is the simulation not perfect because it's some sort of intentional, they have to tell you, leave a clue thing because you're not doing divination, you're actually being a victim at this point, so it's maybe different rules apply? Or is it their simulation control is close to perfect but not quite? I lean towards the first. I think it's maybe some sort of law of leaving a clue, but I'm open to the idea that it's, you know, slightly flawed simulation control. Even though in the Astral Realms, in places you can't cross-reference because they're not like places you can go in the real world, it doesn't really matter if they mess up anything because you don't have anything to compare it to. So maybe that's why it's like, it's harder for real life simulations because they have to probably pull it out of your brain or something, because I think that seems to be the case. Now, here's the thing. So if it's a simulation, keep that in mind for stories you hear around sleep paralysis and what people see. That means the entity manifesting is actually simulation and not physically manifesting. I'm not saying there can't be the phenomena physically manifesting. I believe they can in certain ways, but I don't think it's happening all the time with sleep paralysis at all. So if it is a simulation, and these clues that many people have, you know, quoted are proof of it being a simulation, then they're not freezing your physical body, they're freezing your astral body. And people will wake up and then be still in the dream world, and then wake up again, and then wake up again. Some people, they wake up immediately. It just depends, and it's just a new simulation every time sometimes. Some people say they see a gray alien in these sleep paralysis encounters, and it'll look at them like, oh shoot, I'm not supposed to be seen. Like they're kind of like nervous because they're like, oh no, you caught me. And they're like, they bug out and they press a button on their belt. And when they press
the grays.
yeah. When they, in many people have said
they're what,
this.
Teletubbies or what? You never...
Yeah, I mean that's if they shapeshift into Teletubby, that's scarier than anything else they're gonna do.
Huge dolls.
That would be the freakiest thing, actually. They should do that. No, don't. I'm not going to consent to that. But they will shapeshift after they press this button. Technology doing it into a shadow person. Okay, many people have said this. I'm not going to say tons and tons, but I've heard like at least 5 or 6 testimonies with this. If this is a simulation, that means they are planting false flags inside of these, as they do, in these simulations, to make you think shadow people are actually gray aliens with technology shapeshifting, which is a crazy return on investment that they're trying to get here, because they're having to do this to like millions of people all the time. For what? To scare them for what? Loosh harvesting? They're going to, and then they're messing up and they're like, oh no, you caught me. Let me press my, you think a gray alien's going to come into your room and portal into there and then get caught like that and be like, oh, I messed up. No, it's like theater. It's theatrics, just like the astral stuff. It's all of it. It's to make you think the phenomena is actually more physical and more scientific than actually the spiritual side of it. It's a false flag. That's what I think it is. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just, that's another example in the dream realm of this happening. And then you have NDEs, which I have a shorter chapter on that, but you know, it's got some important stuff in there. And
yes, it's a near-death experience.
Yeah, sorry.
When
yes,
you die and you wake up. You go back.
And these are people who are resuscitated at some point. So die is kind of a complicated thing, because I think some of them do die, but it doesn't mean their soul's in its final resting place, obviously, because they come back or God allowed it. But I think a lot of NDEs are from God and are, you know, I don't think having Jesus in it means it's legit, because they can and will mask as Jesus in these astral encounters all the time. For example, Dan Duvall claims to channel Jesus, and so has many other people, and they say some pretty silly non-biblical things, and we talk about that in another episode. But yeah, it's just, he doesn't use the word channeling, though, I'll say, for legal purposes, but he does do that. And then in NDEs, it's just because God and Jesus is there, I don't think that means it's good and not demonic, but I think that is a good sign, and you judge it by its fruits. And if it comes with pride and your takeaway is anything prideful, Or if it's just simple, oh, love everyone, which is good. That's the message from the New Age, though. It's like these people will go to heaven realms.
From Jesus as well.
Well, you know, I'm not saying
Love
it's a
your
bad
neighbor.
thing. I'm
Love
just
your neighbor.
no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying like it is used as a deceptive tool here to think, oh, well, it's love, so it must be good entities I'm talking to, and it's like, well, no, it's not that simple. Like people will go who weren't Christians and they'll have an NDE and they'll go to some heaven realm, which may or may not be real, and then they'll come back and tell people, hey, I was just in heaven and I didn't need Jesus, so that must mean the Christian way is kind of bunk because if the Bible is true, then I would have gone to hell. But if it's a fake heaven, then they're trying to make you come back with that story to share and create mythology into the culture. That's just a concept that I believe in personally. You have Sean Tabbitt, which is an NDE researcher, wrote the NDE Conspiracy, cool guy. He talks about Brian Melvin's NDE. And Brian Melvin's NDE, when he died, he starts in this heaven realm and is in this like what he describes as like a childhood home of his, and he sees like dead loved ones who are all greeting him, happy to see him, smiling really with their teeth very heavy, being nice. They're probably having a barbecue, I don't know. And then eventually, out of nowhere, I forgot what prompted it, but things start morphing in this NDE to a hellish-like realm, cavernous and probably bad AC, something like that. And then the loved ones are shapeshifting into demonic serpent-like creatures, he says. Now, he's resuscitated soon after and comes back with this crazy NDE story. If his NDE started as a heavenly type perfect realm with very nice people and then shifted into a hellish realm, but it was all simulation, ultimately is what I'm saying, how many people are having these NDEs with very new age material coming back with now asset-ready material to share the lore and create mythology, are coming back and they just got resuscitated before the transition happened? We have no idea. But I judge it by its fruits. If it has a new age message, I'm going to say it's demonic. And that sounds biased, but from the research, it makes seems like a reasonable take to come back with. And if it's very biblically sound and you don't come back with pride, I'm going to say it's probably legit. But I don't want to say for sure because they do fake heavens and fake Jesus all the time. And I have many examples in my book of that. So that's one story from the NDE lore. And then there's the DMT lockout conversation, which is more of went viral a couple months or weeks back, and it's something that I have an explanation for in my vision control concept that I think is original and needs to be considered as a real possibility of an explanation. Now, you know what DMT is and how you trip on it.
Dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Ayahuasca.
That's like that's like a different version of taking it, which instead of being like 7 or 20 minutes, that's like multiple hours, and it's a different experience because of the way it's ingested and chemically operated through your body. But DMT in the short version, it can be time dilated and feel like a very long time, as you know, my trips that I did felt like forever. But it's really just a few minutes. And if you take enough, you'll get out of body. When you get out of body, you'll go meet certain types of archetypes. People talk about, with DMT only, or maybe salvia too, they'll talk about the jester types, and the jesters like to call black people the N-word. They're pretty funny. That's one sign it's demonic, by the way, just putting that out there. That happens to many people. And there's the machine elves and a lot of geometric stuff and really insane stuff that you don't hear about in the astral lore. So you're like thinking, if you read it, oh, it's different. These are different realms, deeper, more higher consciousness. That's the message they want to convey, in my opinion. I think it's the same simulation as the astral stuff. And it is out of body technically in that semantic sense, but I think they're creating different archetypes for different drugs to make you think this takes you to a different place to expand.
I don't want to go there because this is a code. I want to do DMT because this is something more down to earth, to the mother nature.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
They're just creating different archetypes for different drugs, but if you go out of body, I think they can take you to these DMT realms. They just don't, because they're trying to separate the worlds and saying, no, that's a super specific place your consciousness has to be in to take you. You know, I think they're just creating these different archetypes.
This political candidate is way another than this, way differs a lot from another.
They want you to believe it. Yeah, absolutely. It's Hegelian dialectic ultimately on a larger scale, which is their thing. So my thing is, why does DMT lockout happen? For anybody who doesn't know what DMT lockout is, it's when you take it a bunch of times, it can be dozens or even 5 sometimes or hundreds, and people will eventually stop being permitted in. They will go there, and then one day their guide or their machine elf or jester, or sometimes mantis aliens, whoever their usual friend is they have, will eventually say, hey, you're getting on our nerves. You're coming here too much and you're not doing it to learn anything. They want you to believe it's about your spiritual education so that they have an excuse. That's not what it's about. So they say, you're not coming here to learn, so you're banned, you're out. They snap their fingers essentially, and boom, your out-of-body experience ends the moment they tell you this. Mm-hmm. Many, many dozens of people, I've seen testimonies of this happen, okay? So, and then they After that, these people will smoke 10, 20 plus X amount of what they usually smoke to get out of body, and they get the visuals and they do not get out of body, no matter what. Now, if this is a special psychic power you can develop without an entity involved, why does the drug that helps you get out of body the easiest not get you out of body whenever an entity says you're kicked out? It might sound like they're facilitating the entire thing, like I've been saying. That would align with my thinking, at least. You have one character, Zoltan Bathory, the guitarist for Five Finger Death Punch, or was back in the day, and he's a nice guy, and he's been on Danny Jones' podcast with Danny Guller, the other DMT researcher with the whole simulation theory. And then there's Andrew Gallimore, another guy who won't answer my DMs as much as I've tried. And they're not Christians. One's secular, Andrew Gallimore, and one's very new age Gnostic, which is Danny Guller. And they're nice guys, but we disagree. And they don't have anybody that I've heard talk about getting DMT lockout, which they're doing it more than most people. So why is that happening? Well, because they're being assets and they're getting out information for the DMT elves to share this lore and get people interested in it. So if you're an asset, I think they're going to take care of you. Now, Zoltan Bathory was kicked out, and he tells us on Danny Jones in a clip you can look up, not you, but just anybody. And he says that when he was kicked out, he was pissed off because he loved it, and he meditates for 4 months afterwards straight, asking these entities daily, mentally, telepathically trying to connect with them. Why did I get kicked out? Can I come back, please? He's begging to come back. And
He doesn't have visa.
all right. Yeah, I think he's not from there. So he's doing this for months, and after 4 months of doing this every day, they say, all right, fine. They let him back in because he's been doing DMT the whole time, not getting out of body. But finally he gets back, and they're like, all right, welcome back. You're good. We appreciate you trying, which proves this isn't some psychic ability you can control, because if it was, it would get you out of body no matter what. But these entities are choosing when to come take you and bring you back. Why are they doing this? Why are they locking you out? What's the point? Don't they want to deceive you more with simulations? Yes and no. Yes, they do. But if these are demons from the Bible, then that means there's only as many demons as there are Nephilim who died in the flood. Okay? That's the lore biblically. Well, more Enoch, I guess, but we're not going to get the semantics today of that. If that's true, that means there's a set amount of demons, and we have 8 billion humans on the planet. If you believe that, I'm cool with there being 3 or 4. I know a thing or two, all right? But either way, we have billions of people on this planet, and they have, for schizo reasons I'm not going to get into, I assume around a few hundred million. The elites talk about depopulating us 90% to about 500 million, which is an ideal population rate. The elites say that, who are controlled by demons. So if that's the case, I'm going to say there's maybe about 500 million demons.
For those of you watching, I'm not subscribing to that shit. Fuck you.
This guy's crazy, y'all.
William Gates, fuck you.
Take that, William. So yeah, man, it's crazy because I just assume there's a few hundred million of them based on a lot of other reasons from certain books about population concepts that we might have to know about the pre-flood world. Anyway, so there's only as many who died in the flood, Nephilim. So that means even though I believe the demons are part of a hive mind, which I think evidence supports, there is still only potentially a few hundred million, way less of them than there are of us. What does that mean? They need to expand their resources appropriately and make sure they're smart in mapping out who they're attacking and who they're deceiving when and where, because there's a lot of workload around this planet for them to do, okay? So if you're going out of body, taking up their time and resources for these highly generative, focus attention needed simulations that require their full attention, I'm sure, at least one demon at a time, that means if you're doing it hundreds of times and you're not getting them anything out of it, you're not an asset, you're just doing it for fun, that's a lot of workload for like no reason. They can just make up a thing. Oh, you're not educating yourself. Well, you're getting on our nerves. Boom, kick you out. And then you go, dang it, I should have been there to learn. I'm a dick. And you think it's about this, but really it's just a return on investment thing, dude. They have to map this stuff out. Their hive mind is not infinite or omnipresent. It has a sort of localized version of that, but it's only as many individual demons as died in the flood. So DMT lockout makes most sense in a biblical sense of being, we got better things to do. And that's why you see assets who are doing this in projects, getting information and data collected. You don't hear them talk about it because they're getting data. They're learning. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I know
That's a theory.
It's my theory, yes.
Yes.
But, I went like baby viral for it when I posted a whole thing to Andrew Gallimore on it one day when that whole topic was going viral. And I got a lot of followers that day from it. It was really cool. And a lot of people were saying it made sense. Some people were shitting on it, but no one could really break down where it coherently doesn't make sense with what the data we have. You can say it's not true, but there's no logical holes that anybody's pointed out to me in, and I'm biased, in the story I'm presenting here. And it matches with everything I'm saying with the simulation control. So it makes sense. Is it true? Maybe not, find out, but we'll see. I just think that's an important thing because it's also proof. I think it is proof that this is not a psychic power we can develop. Otherwise, we could get out of body with this drug, regardless if an entity allows us. And maybe we'll just go somewhere else instead of the DMT realm. But we don't. It never happens when you get locked out until you beg for 4 months. Beg the astral Jews, as some might say. So, yeah, man, I do want to go on to some Bible stuff, and then we can finish this one up. But
so for you guys, don't use DMT, don't use any drugs, and don't beg some demons to let you in. Beg Jesus to forgive you, and not to hear the words of "I never knew you, bro."
This is a cool guy right here. Yeah, that's an important verse I'd bring up later. It's a scary one. Yeah, man. But the Bible, I think, defends this entire concept for the most part, albeit less detailed than I'm being, of course, because the Bible doesn't give you all the answers and all the details to what if this is a true power the demonic realm has, this vision control. This is, I'm not trying to be grandiose and self-aggrandizing, but it's kind of a big key to unlocking the deceptions that they're pulling off, in my opinion. And in a biblical context, it totally makes sense. So I think this is something they've wanted to not get out, and I think, God's using a goofy vessel for it, and I hope that's okay for anybody listening. So I'm going to just tell everybody what I think the story in the Bible that validates my theories most, and then I'll read a few scriptures just so people can hear this is talked about, and people I don't hear this stuff talked about in churches or in sermons. And I'm kind of shocked. I'm not saying no one ever has, but it's talked about more than I thought when I researched it. So you have 1 Kings 22. Now, this is the story where it's the northern and southern tribe of the Israelites. You have the 10 tribes in the north and the 2 in the south, which are Israel and Judah now. So Israel is headed and kinged at this time by Ahab, the pagan douchebag king who's not a friend of Yahweh or whoever. And then you have the Judah tribe is kinged by Jehoshaphat, which is more of a follower, but a little bit silly and problematic at times.
By the way, quick question. Wouldn't you say David and Solomon were douchebags as well?
When I say David and Solomon are? David, no, imperfect and flawed, and he definitely messed up, and he definitely, I don't align.
Oh, come on.
Wait, Solomon, I think.
He's not a douchebag? David? Sending his best friend to a war just to fuck his wife?
No, I said that's evil. No, that's evil. But
so a douchebag.
Not for everything he did. No, men's complicated. You can't just be... Listen, that was an evil thing. Yeah, and I don't support it, and I think it's evil. But am I going to say he's an evil man and he doesn't deserve salvation or anything? I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm not saying you are not the worst thing you've done. And while I do think you should be killed for pedophilia and certain things and evil stuff, probably, yeah, well, definitely for pedophilia. But for these things, it's I don't think you are the worst thing you've done. And I think...
I didn't say he's an evil person.
No,
I said that he's a douchebag.
Okay, that's fair.
Is he?
He was definitely a douchebag at a time. Solomon, it's weird because I used to really relate to him until I read the Bible more, because what I did is I did the Solomonian thing where when I was first getting into spirituality and then finding God, when I was coming to Christianity, which took a while to fully cement it, I was reading some of... First Kings and Second Kings and all the stuff where Solomon's talked about, with glossing over some details, and I saw him I was like, wow, I did the same thing he did. I prayed every night for wisdom. I wanted to understand because I was exposing myself to all these things. I didn't get why there were so many discrepancies, which now I've come to this biblical understanding. But for a while, I was I begged God for wisdom constantly, and I was always searching. Okay, and that's what I saw him do, and God granted his prayer wish and gave him exactly what he wanted. He became the wisest king, wisest man on earth, richest, successful. And what happened?
And what
he became
happened?
He became a hoe. He became a major hoe, and he had
concubines?
700 wives, 300 concubines, which sounds like a made-up number and almost symbolic, but I think it might be literal. And did he just marry everybody he banged?
His dick would have fallen off, bro.
No, that's what I'm saying.
700?
They must have had
even once a... Come on.
He invented half the STDs with his own wiener, I bet. But no, and he started getting his wives, and many wives ended up bringing him into witchcraft and all these things, it seems to be. So no, I don't.
Keys of Solomon.
Yeah, so it's weird because he was starting off so great and fell off, which is, it should be the other way around. I would hope you start off bad and then come and stay strong. But he has a complex story, man. But I connected to him because of the whole, he likes the ladies, I like the ladies. He likes wisdom, I like wisdom. And that's why I was I connected with him. But now I don't want to be that's me, because I'm more wholesome than he is. But I'm also not an old man, and by then, who knows what I'll be. But I don't want to say because of David's very, very evil thing he did, which he repented for as hard as you can, I feel like. Yeah, I'm not saying it's justified, but, you know, people have come back from worse things, and I'm just trying to understand forgiveness and mercy more. And King David was a badass for most of the things he did. So it's complex, and God loved him despite his flaws.
It's complex until it doesn't touch you personally. Let's say I
Yeah.
false witness
Yeah.
and you go to jail. I was like, bro, come on. I text you, bro, you're in jail. I'm sorry, bro.
No, dude, I get it. It's complicated,
forgive
man.
me?
I know, I get it.
Sure, of course, no problem. I'm gonna be in jail for 10 years because you falsely witnessed against me. No worries.
You know, I get it, man, but I'm not going to act like I have God's level of forgiveness or mercy or understanding. But the more I try to, the more I'm going to try to like, and I'm not forcing it, but like I'm trying to be like, no, I get it. Like if I lived back then, I'm not saying I would do the same thing or be any better, but like I can't like understand everybody's life and everything they've been through and what's brought them to certain places. I'm not justifying bad behavior, but I'm just like, the more I try to have understanding, I'm like, you know what? If I was living this person's life and went through what they went through, who knows if I'd do much better? And he did some evil stuff. That I'm not denying that.
That's why I have a problem with churches praising both of them.
Well, you shouldn't praise any man. You shouldn't praise any man except Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
If you put any man on a pedestal, you'll be disappointed.
Find fault in his life and his words and his actions, please.
Yeah, no,
None.
no, you
None
can't.
found.
No, he's lived a perfect life.
So praise Jesus.
No, exactly. So anyway, I want to get into the story because I think it's important. 1 Kings 22, you have Ahab, northern king, and Jehoshaphat, southern king. I think their kids are married, so they're in-laws, but either way, they're the kings of the tribes of Israel. So Ahab is trying to convince Jehoshaphat to join forces so they can go and pillage and kill and, you know, take over Ramoth Gilead, right? I think I'm saying that right. And Jehoshaphat's like, I don't know, man. Like, shouldn't we consult the prophets, the men of God, and see what they say? Because he doesn't want to go against God, but he's going about it the wrong way because he's going to listen to prophets. Now, Ahab goes, sure, yeah, I'll grab them. Literally grabs 400 of them. That's an exact number, and I'm pretty sure it's literal, at least generally speaking. 400 prophets. Now, these are divination seeker occultists. These are people doing what I believe is remote viewing. They're just not calling it that. And they are getting future visions and downloads of information to see if you're going to be successful in the war. And guess what? All 400 say, you're going to kick ass, you're going to do great. Don't worry about it. Go take care of it. All 400. And it implies, especially in the moment, that they all had not only downloads of information for sure, but psychic visions seeing this happen. Okay? All 400 got the same thing. So if all of them are getting the same information, it must be legitimate, right? I don't know. So then you have, after that, you have Ahab going, see, I told you, we're going to do great. And then Jehoshaphat's like, I don't know, like something's bothering me. Even though it's obvious these are occultists, he's saying, I don't know if that's the right move. Can we get one more true man of God, like follower of implied Yahweh? You know, he's saying God. That's what I would see it as. Now, he goes, sure, whatever, fine. And he goes and grabs Micaiah, who is a true man of God, a prophet. Now, a true prophet is never someone doing occult practice. It's someone chosen by God and guided through certain processes, and God speaks to them. You don't summon, you don't speak to God. No one summons Yahweh. No one summons Jesus. You can't do that. You'll just get a faker, okay, a demon faker. So this guy's a true one, and he is pulled up by a messenger. The messenger says to him on the way, hey, don't mess us up. We're going to do this war, so don't say anything that disagrees with that, okay? And he's like, I'm going to tell whatever God tells me to say. You know, hell yeah, let's go. So he shows up. Ahab's asking him to prophesy, and he starts off sarcastically making fun of him, telling him what he wants to hear, but with a like kind of, you know, sarcastic tone, it seems. And Ahab's like, hey, shut the hell up, tell me the truth right now. And then he gets a vision immediately then. He's seeing in this mind's eye vision, remote viewing is what you would call it, and witnessing God and his heavenly council, which is spoken out about in a few verses, otherwise like Psalms 82 and other things. He's speaking with his heavenly council, asking them, hey, what do we do about Ahab? He's becoming a real problem for the Israelites, basically. I'm paraphrasing, of course, and we need to take care of him. But they could come down and smite him, but that's not their style. They play within free will laws of the universe and try to let it happen in a natural way. Some, you know, playing into his own consents he's given. So then a spirit, one of the angels, I guess, says, hey, what if I go down there and being a lying spirit in the mouth of the prophets? A lying spirit, he says, in the mouth of the prophets. And then God says, great idea. You'll do great. Go do it. You'll be successful. Okay? So this is the end of the vision, basically. And he's saying that this spirit Micaiah is telling Ahab, this spirit took over the psychic data funneling, whether it be remote viewing, downloads, probably both, I imagine, of these 400 prophets in an effortless way. All 400 get the same data, and none of them are the wiser that they were just hijacked, which the whole thing requires entities, in my opinion. Anyway, but usually it's going to be demons taking over this role, but because this is an important thing happening, God sent one of his angels to take care of it. And you would say, well, isn't that God admitting that he deceived someone with a fake vision? Not exactly, okay? You got to understand, before any decision was made, God, even though Ahab did the wrong thing, got all these 400 occultists to do divination, which is a huge sin, which he knows not to do, which got lies. Then he gives them the true vision and tells him the truth to give him a chance to repent and do the right thing before anything happens. He gave him a fair opportunity, which he didn't have to do. And he tells him the truth, so Ahab, even though the Holy Spirit is speaking to him and telling him this is truth, he can choose to go with it and repent or do what he wants anyway, because he was only doing this to convince Jehoshaphat. He wasn't doing this for him. He already had his mind made up. Mm-hmm. He doesn't change his mind. He says, no, I'm going to go to war anyway. He's like, screw you, sends him to jail. Micaiah says, you will die if you do this. And guess what? He gets shot by a stray arrow when he goes to war. Not even aimed right at him, just a stray arrow. That's divine, in my opinion, and he gets killed. And Jehoshaphat was almost killed and then spared because he drops and prays to God and repents. He messed up, but, he was more better intentioned, I suppose, at the end of the day. Now, this is telling you that angels have this ability, and it seems to me, if anything in my book, lore-wise and mythology, is at all accurate testimony, demons have the exact same ability because they're coming at you with different things that don't line up with the Bible. And I think God granted them this ability to be tools of testing us throughout life. This earth is a test, this life is a test, and they are evil used for good. Like a necessary evil to play on our free will and test us, but it's in a test realm. This is not, people say, oh, that's unfair. Why don't you just not let demons harass us? That's what the millennial kingdom's for. And according to the lore, it says that Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. That implies to me, all the demonic realm will not be able to affect us.
Already happened, guys.
Hey, chill out. Maybe, but not my thing. But there's other verses though. So that's telling you a false vision was given to 400 prophets and false downloads of information, and they didn't know, right? There's more verses on this. There's quite a few actually. You have Jeremiah 23:32. Behold, I'm against those who prophesy false dreams, says the Lord, and tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies and by their recklessness. Yet I did not send them or command them, therefore they shall not profit this people at all, says the Lord. False dreams. Okay, now here's another one. Ezekiel 13:6-7. If you actually go all the way to 9, there's actually a few more examples. You have...
What page, please?
What page?
Page of...
268, 269.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, this is the unupdated version. In my new version on Amazon, I actually have a lot more verses included, which I'm going to list off here because I was kind of lazy with my first rendition here. So then you have Ezekiel 13:6-7, which is mentioned actually more times in the following verses, but it says, they have envisioned futility and false divination, saying, thus says the Lord. But the Lord has not sent them, yet they hope that the word may be confirmed. Have you not seen a futile vision, and have you not spoken false divination, you say? The Lord says, but I have not spoken. You have Jeremiah 14:14. And the Lord said to me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I have not sent them. They prophesy a false vision, divination. I wrote it in the book. It's not actually there. Mm-hmm. They prophesy a false vision, divination, a worthless thing in the deceit of their heart. The deceit of their heart. Their heart's posture opened them up to this deception. If they didn't want to be finding occult knowledge and questioning God, and if they just had true faith, they wouldn't be allowed to be tested with these visions. This is a symptom of their own consents given via metaphysical, your own heart's posture, which is the most important thing. You also have Deuteronomy 13:1-3. If there arises among you a prophet or dreamer of dreams, and he gives you a sign or wonder, and the sign or wonder comes to pass, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul. He tells you he's testing you. He tells you this is a test. Just have faith in me. The false dreams, false vision, false divination is also seen throughout Lamentations 2:14, Zechariah 10:2, Ezekiel 13:23, 21:29, 22:28, 2 Kings 17:17-18, Jeremiah 23:16. All these verses say one of those things: false dreams, false vision, false divination, a useless thing, the deceit of their own heart. It is telling you these false visions are so powerful, they are powerful enough to convince you to go after other gods. What does that mean? A false vision, false divination. It's in a spiritual encounter with an entity, a spiritual experience that is so powerful it convinces you to go after other gods, okay? Does that sound like anything we are aware of? Could be astral travel, could be remote viewing, could be a prophetic dream. He says there will be prophetic dreams, but if my hive mind data analysis theory is correct, they're not seeing the future, and even if they are, they're still evil, but they're giving you this prophetic dream to gateway drug you into occultism because it makes you excited and interested in psychic abilities. That's the point. But it's really data analysis implanted in you as a false situation that you will then go, oh, that was prophetic. No, it's data analysis, in my opinion. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting because there are other religions that teach of false vision control. I thought it was just the Bible. And I was like, well, that means it's telling you the truth because no one else is telling you about deception. Not exactly true, but in what context? I'll have a few examples here, which are not in the book here, but I updated it in my recent version, which is sad because I wish I had it. But in non-Christian texts like Islam's Hadith, there's a quote that says, a good dream that comes true is from Allah, and a bad dream is from Shaitan, which is their word for Satan. That's telling you, if you have a good prophetic dream, that's from God, which Deuteronomy 13:1-3 says, you will have prophetic dreams and even seem positive, but if they come true, it doesn't mean it's from me, especially if the fruits of it take you to other gods. So it says that will happen, and not to listen to them. This guy's saying, no, listen to them, which is actually sounds like disinformation if this is a demonic situation happening. And it says a bad dream is from the bad side. So if you get a bad dream, that's the baddies. The baddies don't mask with good and feelings and nice love and positive things. They're just very obviously evil. That's what they're telling you. They're dumbing down the demonic realm or jinn for them and making them seem more simple and less elaborate in their planning. But they're smarter than us. So why would they make it so obvious? They're not. They're very elaborate and they're very nice. You have Buddhism, which teaches of Mara, the Lord of Illusion, which is said to be an adversarial figure who fabricates visions, temptations, and illusions. Why? To obstruct meditation, enlightenment, and spiritual progress. So this one entity, not all entities, they can't all do this, but one entity, Mara, will disrupt your meditation, spiritual progress with visions that take you down the wrong path. Now, that's making you think, well, this evil entity wants me to stop spiritual progression in the New Age sense, or technically in this case in Buddhism. That means I must be on the right track. So it's a false flag potentially where they're just trying to scare you off from, it's good cop, bad cop. They're trying to say, no, meditation's good for you, and that's why this evil entity is stopping me. So I must keep meditating. It must be good for me. Or are you disassociating and opening your mind to demons? That's the other side of it. But it seems like propaganda from that side. Now, then you have Hindu, which describe asuras, which use Maya, which is their word for magic, to create false visions and experiences, admittedly so, according to entities. They create deceptions in non-physical planes. That means astral. They create deceptions in non-physical planes to trap or confuse the departed, people who've died. What does that mean if it's true? Well, that means a lot of the astral's real, of course, but that means some of it's fake and can be fabricated by entities who want to confuse you and take you away from the correct afterlife realm, which means, well, I guess there's no God that's in control of your ultimate destination of the afterlife. So that means it's more ambiguous. You probably should go out of body more and, have some guidance so you understand how to navigate so you don't get tricked by these entities. So it's still validating the real astral, which I'm saying is all simulation, but it's also telling you they can do this. They're admitting in multiple religions through multiple entity contacts that, no, they can fabricate total regions of the astral, but a lot of it's still real. Just like the entities are saying today with Robert Monroe and Kurt Leland, no, this is a simulation. But that's all real. This heaven realm I took you to, this healing center, this God freezing you in space, that's all real. But this silly stuff over here, that's the simulation. But they can make it realer than reality, so real that you forget you're in a fake simulation. So if they can do that, and they can do all the things that I've been covering today, and they're lying constantly, which there's more examples in the book of that, and they're aligning with other liars in the channel lore, then why couldn't it all be a simulation? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of words and elaborate stuff, but that's like ultimately where I would bring it and end off because it's just, I feel like I make a good case for it.
Okay, what are the chances of this thing being a simulation?
Oh, it's funny because that's what they kind of want you to get into that paranoid state about it. They want, there's examples in my book where I cover this actually quite a bit more, where, for example, in the book Initiation by Elizabeth Hyatt, she's reliving past life memories of her being the Pharaoh's daughter in Egypt. She's the Pharaoh's daughter in her past life memory. She has tons of memories. Her uncle's the high priest. She wants to go through initiation, the occult initiation of the New Age, and they agreed to it. And she goes through this whole rigmarole. And at the end, when they're like, "This is the initiation test. This is what you do," they take her into this. Her uncle, the high priest, in this past life memory, tells her, "Okay, your initiation test is here. You get in that coffin. You're going to get in a coffin, and you're going to go through this vision quest." So in the vision of a past life memory, she's getting a vision, simulation switch, just another thing. And in this vision quest, they tell her, you have 7 layers to pass through. Each layer is going to be a different vision, and your goal is to make sure you don't get lost in the reality. Because if you get into a simulation, which they say, they don't use the word, but they basically admit it's a simulation, in this past life memory, they say if you go into that and you get lost in the world and think it's real, just like Leland in his simulation, if you think it's real and you get lost in it, you'll be stuck there forever. And you will have to reincarnate in a dream world until you figure it out, which could take thousands of years. That is the most nightmarish thing I've ever heard. So she has to get through 7 levels, and if she doesn't make it, she'll get stuck in a fake dream simulation world and have to reincarnate like it's a regular world forever. Now, when you read that,
But it will, in simulation, it will last her, let's
that's
say,
what they tell her.
thousands of years. But in reality,
That's what they tell her, but it's just, they're just lying to her. Now, they're telling her that so that, because this isn't past life memory, so she's not actually having to go through this. She's reliving a memory of her uncle telling her that, which I know this is hard to follow. But they're telling her that because whenever anybody reads this book, which they propositioned her to write, they will say, oh my God, well, if she's stuck in that world, how do I know I'm just not in a coffin being initiated right now and this is the fake world? And then it drives you to schizophrenia or insane thoughts that are like, wait, is this reality real? I absolutely believe we're in base reality. Is this a simulation? I mean, only in the sense that God created it as a temporary realm, but it's as real as anything is ever going to be. And the only thing that's going to be realer is our afterlife in heaven. That's going to be.
how can you prove this? How can you test?
Well, ultimately, it's faith right now. Prove it. I mean, listen, you have Danny Goller trying to prove her in a simulation with the DMT test, where you take DMT, like I said earlier, and then not enough to get out of body, but enough to like see things. And he says everybody sees this code when they look at a laser a certain way. Have you heard of this? A lot of people have. A lot of people who are listening probably have heard of it. So he uses this as evidence of we're in a simulation because you will get a certain laser and you'll stare at it on DMT. And not everybody, but most people say they see code and little numbers and little gears, and that's like, oh, proof we're in a simulation. Okay? But Danny Goller also admitted in interviews that he's done DMT a bunch, obviously, and entities guided him to this whole process. Now, if these are demons creating simulations, then while you are hallucinating on these drugs, which open you up and allow you to be hallucinating in ways they can control, how do we know they're not just giving matching data in situations to people who are very aware, are trying to collect data and create a test around it, and then they're giving them these matching hallucinations to create a data set to go, oh my God, it is a simulation, but it's guided and completely controlled potentially by these demonic entities who you've allowed to deceive you with your attempts here, which are divination. That's what I think. That's my view of it. And I can't prove we're in base reality, but I just
Okay.
don't subscribe to it. You know what I mean?
Okay, explain me this thing. In 2024 to 2025, in New York, there was a shipwreck.
Okay.
Do you remember the shipwreck?
Do you mean the one that hit the bridge?
The bridge. It hit the bridge.
Yeah.
So the name of the ship in Aztec language means descending eagle. Was the symbol of America, the eagle?
Okay.
Descending eagle, declining eagle, something's bad with America, right?
Gotcha.
So 2 cadets died during that shipwreck. 2 people died. One cadet's name she was Latina, America. What are the odds? How many people do you know with the name America? And you can fact check this.
Especially she was Latina. That's crazy. I mean, are you saying that might be some sort of
Either they, whoever they are, Freemasons, occult, they're doing these rituals and they're leaking this code for us to decode and to spot the false flags?
Yeah, to a
Or
degree.
this is kind of just a simple game that we're being played as we're basically NPCs. And someone's pulling.
I know what you're saying, and I think that's part of the goal is to convince people of that, because I personally don't subscribe to it. The whole, like, I think they do a lot of things to drive us crazy, and a lot of the coding and symbolism left in certain conspiracies and all these little hints. There's multiple reasons for it. One of which is like the same reason they allow telling us the truth in movies and shows, and people go, oh, if you're a Gnostic, you say, yeah, they say that's revelation of the method. That's their way of, they have to tell you. But why do they have to tell you? They say, the Gnostics,
Cosmic
that
karma.
to balance, so they're not karmically responsible for what happens because they told you. Now that's stupid and doesn't really align with the actual karmic lore whenever you actually look into it much, but that's what they say. Now, if that's not the view, that's actually, in my opinion, a cover-up psyop for what's really happening, which is manifestation law. Manifestation law to the Gnostics are, oh, you create your reality with your thoughts and your desires, and you can manifest whatever. Yes and no. That is what they say in a positive way, but the darker Christian view of that would say, no, manifestation law should be more called consent law. Whenever you are putting out a movie and it has a certain concept and everybody goes to sees it, one, it not only normalizes the subject to the culture, which may have never thought of that as a collective whole, but also it's making it entertainment for people. And in your minds and your hearts, if you're watching a movie with some really dark stuff happening, some Brave New World type energy, and you're laughing about it, joking about it, or even accepting it as a potential reality, even our belief, oh, this might happen, like all of us going, this might happen. Yeah, I could see that happening, even if it's joking. I think that collective apathetic view of it is acting cosmically as like a veil-thinning consent form, to where now you are giving entities more leg room to open the doors and make these things a reality. They can go on assignment because you've given collective consents via your acceptance and belief in these things that could happen. So whenever they program movies, it's like, if they program it, they can get more people to accept it and more people to be okay with it, even if consciously you may not see it that way. And then boom, demons get more leg room to influence it into happening. So that's how manifesting, I think, really is. I'm explaining it not the best, but that's kind of how I would put it. So that's like the Christianized view of it. Does that make sense? It's kind of convoluted, I know.
Do you believe in coincidence?
In most cases, no. I think synchronicities are, usually, I don't want to say divine, because I think demons orchestrate coincidences all the time and synchronicities to make us believe certain things. But I think a lot of it's demonic. I think a lot of it's God. It just depends on what's the fruits of this thing. And yeah, there's some coincidences out there that actually happen. Statistically, there will be. But a lot of the crazier things, no, I believe is, entity involvement, guiding people in certain ways. You know what I mean? Yeah, hit me with some lore.
So this is 2019.
That's ugly.
Fashion show. 2019, mind you.
Fashion's gay.
So this is 2013, and the designer of this outfit, his name is Covid Kapoor. What are the odds?
I mean,
A mask? Matching the outfit? A year prior, and his name is Covid Kapoor, but
yeah,
that starts with the K, not with the C.
Yeah, that's a little magic right there. I don't believe that's a coincidence. No, it's too on the nose. It's kind of like, a little sprinkle of in your face. We're planting that stuff, and there's many reasons for it besides what I just explained, I think. But yeah, that one's silly.
What is the name of the first male that got COVID-19 vaccine?
Yeah.
Do you know the name?
No, I just remember hearing about this.
The first male, not female, but first male. Take a guess.
That's funny.
What's his famous quote?
Everything's a stage, and yeah, man.
Men and women are merely players.
Yeah.
The world is a stage.
I've seen stuff like this all the time. This is little nuggets of things they drop as, to laugh at us and make fun of us, but it's kind of I think it's magic. I think it's planting the ideas and concepts in the lore. I don't know. I'm bad at explaining it, but I've read a lot about this and I find it interesting, but I don't think it's proof of simulation stuff necessarily. I think the elites are just, and when I say the elites, I mean all the people setting these things up, that mask and that person, like, was it elites planning it to mess with people? Could be, but are the elites doing it because they know what it's going to turn out to be a reference to, or is it because demons are guiding them to do these things and they don't even know why they're doing it? That's also a factor here, because I think ultimately these things come from the demonic realm. The spiritual realm is the source for a lot of these things. So whenever humans are acting it out, do they know they're planting little seeds everywhere like this? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I don't think they even know they're doing it. They're just channeling entities that are forcing these agendas on them.
Okay.
That's, you know what I mean? Because the demons know more about all this, and they're obviously forewarned of these events because they're planning these events. Okay? So I think they do that to mess with people. So that guy might not even know. And the COVID guy with the mask, that might have just been a demon who he's possessing, planting these thoughts in his head. I don't know.
Okay, so you like numbers. You're a numbers guy, right?
I like some number stuff. I know it's kind of gay, but
Okay. Shout out to my buddy Joey. So Kobe Bryant died on January 26th, right? First month, 26th day. 126.
Okay.
If you take all his daughter's age with his wife's age, it's going to be equals to 126.
Okay.
If you add up birthdays, it adds up to a number 10,026. If you don't count the zeros, it's 126.
Can I totally fuck with your mind really quick?
Please.
Okay. So I never talk about this, and I really am kind of being risky here, but we're at the end. So in my book, in the final chapter, I talk about Donald Trump a lot, whatever, and I have complicated thoughts in the whole thing, but there's a lot of lore in here, and there's one specifically that kind of jumps out if you're a numbers guy. And if anybody wants to verify any of these things, I did research and confirm them at the time, but I didn't check every single one. But I confirmed a few and said, okay, well, the rest of this I trust. Lazy research, whatever, but this is what lore I got from page 777 is 666 on X. That's his like username. And he's like a numbers guy, big on numerology. And I'm not saying it's all meaningful, but there's definitely something to it. And when you watch Messiah 2030, you'll know what I'm talking about. Here's something very strange, and this is going to be annoying to hear, but just hear me out.
What page is this?
387 at the bottom right.
Okay.
Or near the bottom.
Okay, I'm here.
Like the second paragraph. Or no, the second and the last part, numerology. Okay. On May 14th, 2025, Israel became 77 years old, 700 days after Trump's 77th birthday. Israel will be 77 years and 77 days old, 777 days after Trump's 77th birthday. Trump was 700 days old when Israel was reestablished on May 14th, 1948. Trump was 777 days old when Israel was 77 days old. Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem on the 70th anniversary of Israel's founding on May 14th, 2018. Israel's 70th anniversary was 700 days after Trump's 70th birthday. Trump's 700th day in office was Israel was 70 years, 7 months, 7 days old. Trump's first day as president, he was 70 years, 7 months, 7 days old. Israel announced parliament dissolution and early elections December 24th, 2018, which was 777 days after Trump's election November 8th, 2016. Netanyahu was in office during his second term, 7 years, 7 months, 7 days, on the day Trump was elected on November 8th, 2016. Trump announced his candidacy on June 16th, 2015, which was 777 days before Tisha B'Av, which is August 1st, 2017, a Jewish day of mourning. I'm sure it's nothing. Now, if that's true information, it's a little bit weird of some kind of divine cosmic thing connecting Trump and Israel. I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's some weird lore about Antichrist and stuff, but he might be some decoy and there's some Pleiadian Jesus coming. I don't know. I just want to get that out there. Those are my thoughts. It's complicated. But it just is kind of, that's one of many things, by the way. There's many more weird things. That's just numerology that I find kind of like divine in a maybe infamous way, but like that, if that's true, and please fact check me, chat, and shit on me hard in the comments section if I need to, because I might look like a fool today. But it's like, is there something happening there that's prophetic? Maybe. I don't know.
Or it's Satan's little season, and he rules the world.
Whoa.
And he rules via deception.
Unreal comeback. I can't argue with that because it could be.
Case closed. JT, Brian, we're done.
I love you guys. I really do. But we agree on most things, of course. But I'm a Christian.
As long as we agree with that Jesus is king and
that's right,
that himself, that's it.
That's right. Now we all good there, man. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's a plenty schizo place to end it off of. I don't think we can top that right now, and I don't even want to try. So what is that? 316?
316.
Amen.
Brother, where can people buy their book?
Yes, Spirit Realm Shenanigans and Unhinged Ren Exposing the Psychic Fabrications of Discarded Dweebs and Nephilim Nitwits is a fun book you can find on Amazon, and you can buy directly from me on PayHip, which is slightly cheaper. Find all my links on my Linktree, which is linktree.com/Sethlehem, Bethlehem with a Seth, and you can find all my social media. X is where I go really schizo, like I did today. Instagram is Sethlehem _ on Instagram, and YouTube. My YouTube account, I'm going to be hosting interviews at times with people who are really cool I'm connecting with, and I'll be posting all my interviews and playlists and my favorite content. Anything that I talk about, I will have linked there. And my audiobook, my whole book, is free on YouTube and Spotify, and it's got funny freaking voices for the I put a lot of work into that, and it's silly and fun and a not boring read, so please check it out, and I love you.
Bro, that's $100 for that pitch. You owe me $100. Come on, you pitched all your links.
We'll talk about the details
If
in a
you
minute.
want that links to be mentioned in the description below, it's $150.
You're a good barterer. We'll have to debate this more in just a moment. I don't want to do it on air. Okay.
God bless you. Jesus is king.
Amen.
Once again, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Satan's little season, pre-millennia, millennia. If Jesus is still the king, we're good.
Hey, no, that's the most important thing. Everything else is just we're studying and we're trying to understand these crazy, impossible things.
I might be wrong about the OT and the Yahweh and
maybe I'm wrong.
The Bible is not corrupted as I think. Maybe.
As long as you're open to having the humility and lack of pride to say that. That's all.
100%. Yeah.
I'm the same way. And I'm very opinionated and confident, but like ultimately, what do I know? I just know Jesus is the way. That's ultimately where I end my for sure's. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. God bless you, brother.
God bless you, brother.
From the bottom of my heart, I would love to say thank you for watching this entire episode till the very end. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and click here or here and watch another great episode. God bless you.